It's that one. Help. Show. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Shed of Dread. Apologies to everybody in the chat for the start at the beginning. I'm a bit rusty. I've been away for a week. I do apologise for playing the wrong intro.
You used sausages instead of fingers on the buttons, didn't you?
I'm still living in Devon at this present moment in time. In my mind, everything's just way too slow.
That'd be it, man. You're still trying to get past the effects of all that clotted cream.
Well, the problem is, you see, this time yesterday, I was sitting in the pub. So,
did you have a proper Devon scone while you were down there?
Of course, you have to.
Well, yeah, I would insist.
Yes, it was a thing that had to be done, and drinking copious amounts of cider was also done. Because
sounds like a very happy holiday.
Yes, unfortunately, it meant I pressed the wrong button when we started. But in any case, welcome everybody, and here we go into Series 7 of NuWho. And my guests, as always, are John the White, Goldenagedgreek, and Burranjor. Welcome, gentlemen. Let's get this thing rolling, shall we?
Hello, everyone. Have we got anyone in chat at the moment? I'm not seeing anyone. Is anyone there?
At the moment, we're currently showing 0. I have just
it's just us then. Let's all just have we crack on.
They'll join in later.
They'll catch up.
Yes, I have sent the messages out on the old socials that were live, so hopefully someone will join in a minute.
Well, I mean, we are cracking through these episodes. Where are we? My God, we're on part 16 of Why We Love Doctor Who.
Oh yeah! Woo.
Incredibly, we've now made it to NuWho Series 7, which is a mere decade ago.
Yes, not long ago compared to where we started.
And there is one thing I want to say before we start talking about Series 7, because I know the fandom view of this era. I know the kind of way that we're going to be looking at some of the episodes which are going to come up, and I reckon that we're going to be giving some of these episodes probably the hardest kicking of any of Matt Smith's episodes.
Indeed.
So yes. I know that there's some negativity, or might appear to be negativity to come. But I want to point out that no matter what we say as fans about this series 10 years after the fact, the show was still performing incredibly well.
Yep. It certainly was.
And not a single story from Series 7 got less than an AI of 84.
Yep.
The highest was actually for Asylum of the Daleks, which, Asylum of the Daleks got 89.
Yep.
And The Name of a Doctor, which we'll actually cover next week, got 88. In contrast, the very best episode of the Whittaker era is, what was considered to be one of the best ones she ever did, from Flux, Village of the Angels, only managed to 79.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
And others from that series were as low as 75.
You see.
So, the AI score, amongst the raw ratings numbers, I mean, the AI score often gets overlooked, but it's a good measure for us fans of how normies are enjoying the show.
Exactly.
So,
that's
so whatever.
Something.
Hiya, Burranjor.
Sorry.
Carry on, mate.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say was I completely agree. At the very end of the video, that's actually something that I want to talk about is fandom kind of versus the general audience about this series.
I thought because the numbers of Series 7 they stand out so boldly, but this is a series with very strong AI. So the general audience were very much still on board from Matt Smith's third year. I mean, there was a bit of a dip off Series 5, yes. But that's also somewhat to be expected. But, and even though this series got truncated in the middle too, the audience was still turning out for Doctor Who big time. And of course, 2013, this is the exciting year because, we know that the 50th anniversary is going to come up in November. So there was, that was a thread, an energy running all the way through 2013, and so it's important before we start discussing Series 7 that we put it, I feel anyway, but we just put it in that context to make sure that we appreciate this, how it was, whatever failings it might have to us as fans. This was still the show performing very strongly.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
It's one thing as well I'd like to put out, and again, I'll go into some more detail at the very end, or maybe it's some other point in the video, but Series 7 was the last, in my opinion, normal season of NuWho, i.e. it was the last time where it was just, the makers were just trying to do a good sci-fi adventure series. From next year onwards, that's when the SJWs...
well, I would raise you the Snowmen, which we'll get to the Snowmen in the course of today, because I think on that area that's a story in which you could really see the injection of stuff starting.
Well, I mean, we'll certainly talk about that, but what I'm saying is I think that this was the series where the sort of SJW backlash really kind of like started to reach Moffat. And what's interesting is that obviously for the next series, he completely pandered to them in every way. And that was seen as a good thing. Whereas like pandering to like, say a minority of fandom like us, instead of the general public, is seen as like the worst thing you could possibly do. You've killed the show.
It's absolutely true. Historically, this year, 2013, was the first time that we started to see industry criticism of Doctor Who as either elements were stroke racist and or stroke sexist. And that was to escalate with the publication later that year of the book of critical race theory essays, Doctor Who and Race, which led to the show being slammed in the Hollywood Reporter. And then there were other media stories then plagued Moffat for the rest of his time as showrunner, making these accusations that he was sexist or racist, to the point that a couple of years later, Jenna Coleman and Peter Capaldi both had to make statements to the press to assure people that none of this was the case and that Moffat was not like this. So
Karen Gillan actually had to do that.
Karen Gillan as well. His stars had to prop up the showrunner because of these attacks. And 2013 is the year when that not only started but first started to bite. I would completely agree. So from the point of view of being accurate about the history of the show, we need to note that about this year too. But its effects on Series 7 were certainly starting to be seen, but were less here than in any of the subsequent years. It only ever got worse from this point.
Oh yeah. This is the last time. This series is the last time I actually liked Doctor Who that was on and felt it was a valid.
It's a sad thing to have to say that, isn't it? But
it is, yeah. Well, I mean, the start of series 8.
I think it's the last series I could say I felt fully happy with the show.
Exactly,
I didn't really. There was nothing that took me off the bus before the 50th. The problems came after. I think. I mean, maybe just a few things were rubbing up the wrong way, but it was after the 50th that the quality started to become problematic. So I agree. This was maybe the end of a golden age.
Was without doubt, and to be honest, it's very telling because everyone always goes on about how NuWho's so much more successful than the old. I don't think it was, but even here, NuWho has only had like 7 years where it was a mainstream hit. Because since 2013, it's either been like very average or it's been an outright flop. And 7 years only takes you to join.
It all depends on what you compare it to. I mean, NuWho would give its arm and leg for Tom Baker's syndication numbers on US cable.
Oh, absolutely. 9 million.
Doctor Who was vastly more viewed in the United States in the 80s than it ever has been since. No matter how well NuWho did, it never reached the heights. Yeah, but it's the facts. It's the facts.
It's not. You see all these people go on about how it only finally caught on in America. Like that stupid honest trailers. I can't stand them where they just talk in a voice like that and it's supposed to be funny. They make out that they go on. Like, that's one of the things they say about old Who never seen outside of the UK. It's unbelievable.
Well, Gobby's away at the moment, so just welcome Jack in the chat there. Hiya, Jack. It's good to see you. Well, let's kick off talking about Series 7 itself anyway. Who's in the mood to start? I am back. Hello, Gobby. Welcome back. Who's in the mood to start us off?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Would you like the honours, Goldenagedgreek?
Should we do it?
Okay. But it's actually good that I'm doing this one because the next two I'm let's just say that. Yeah. I'm just not the I don't have the best feelings. Actually, no, I lie. Not the next two, which, sort of revealing my thoughts there, but episodes 2 and 4 are ones that I don't really have a lot to say about. So and not because I like them and I think they're just outstanding on their own.
Episodes 2 and 4 both share one thing in common, but we'll get to those. Tell us about the first story.
So we begin Series 7 with I can't remember exactly how it opens. Oh no, I do actually I do. So we're on this planet where the Daleks imprison Daleks that go against the what would you say, traditional sort of ideology of the Daleks.
They're mad Daleks, aren't they?
Yes, basically.
Yeah. Combat damaged, war veterans, gone in the head, Fugazi Daleks.
So we see a woman sort of launching a distress call, and this is where we first get the introduction to, I don't really think they've ever been properly named, but sort of Dalek eye stalk creatures. I don't know if they've ever been given names. I think they're kind of stupid, but we see that. Then we have we go to Earth quickly, where we see Amy and Rory, where Amy's some sort of like model or actress now, and her and Rory are getting a divorce. That comes out of nowhere, and don't worry, it just goes away like that anyway. So
but for reference, I think look at this, they're officially referred to as Dalek puppets.
Yeah, I suppose they could. Yeah, that'll do. Dalek puppets will do.
I feel like that name isn't something that one of the writers came up with. I feel like it's something that a fan came up with, and the writers went, "Yeah, we'll just go with that. We'll just go with that."
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. The BBC trying to explain things.
Yeah.
So then we see the Doctor, Amy, and Rory. They get kidnapped. They don't know exactly where they are. They're actually on a Dalek Parliament ship, and the Doctor warns them that bad things are coming. And then we go to the introduction sequence, which has changed quite a bit since Series 6. It's like the editor took acid or some drugs or something, because it's all this multicolored, just bloody, just monstrosity. It really is.
Yeah.
Can I just put my hand up here and go? I like it.
That's okay. That's okay.
But maybe I've just got the sort of mind that can appreciate something that looks like the daubings of somebody on acid, because I don't know. I kind of find it quite funky, these titles, but I know they're not popular, but I always quite like them. Just me.
Just you. They're unique in their own right, because every single episode is a different sort of color sequence.
Maybe that's why I related. They were unique, I thought they were quite bold, and I like the Matt Smith face in the mist of the nebula kind of thing.
I like that.
And the sort of the way it sort of swooshed inwards and sort of cut in and it was kind of dynamic. I liked it, and like the reverb of the tune as well. So I'm actually, I wouldn't say it's my favourite. It's obviously, I think it's got to start off with the Tom Baker titles. I put a la Hinchcliffe and start from there, and then start with Unearthly Child titles as well. But I think that's maybe there was an element that it was kind of vibing with the original titles by being a sort of big plot splodge of shape.
And the face is obviously the original titles as well.
Yeah, so there was a sort of sympathetic feeling there. But I know that in general they went down badly. But hey, I really hated the cat's bum Capaldi theme. So it really was bad. I can't why. We'll get to that in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, we'll get to that very soon.
Back to you, Jack. Back to you, sorry, Goldenagedgreek. You're doing a great job.
So the Doctor, Amy, and Rory unite on the Dalek Parliament ship, and they are informed that the insane Daleks are planning an escape from the asylum, and of course that poses a threat to the main Dalek fleet. So they assign the Doctor, Amy, and Rory, and they task them with going down to the asylum and lowering the defenses so that they can destroy it. And so we see our trio go down, and they encounter a crashed spaceship, and they go in there, and it's very weird because everything looks okay. It looks like these people have died of sort of natural causes, or not as horrific as you'd expect. And it turns out that these are in fact Dalek puppets. So we get introduced to them, and there's this. They always give them.
It's quite an effective, creepy bit, isn't it? With more being skeletons, and then because they find this sort of spaceship buried in the snow, don't they? At this point, and that's how they find out. There's more going on here than meets the eye sort of thing, and then when they all turn into the Dalek puppets, and the Doctor and Amy are trapped in there. That's kind of effectively creepy. Reminded me of Forest in the Light of Silence in the Library with the Ashton Marder in the spaceships.
Yeah. So yeah. Go on, carry on then, Goldenagedgreek.
So we then, after the group have their encounter, we then flash forward. Well, we transition the scene to Oswin Oswald, and it's a weird montage. We see her preparing food, doing all sorts of
in
mundane
particular, a souffle.
Yeah, which is very important for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
it actually becomes a pivotal plot point near the end. Yeah.
I think it's funny at the end that the Doctor, we find out Clara has been seeing him through all his life. She told him what TARDIS to take. She saved him, but he didn't remember her. Yet he remembered that she was Souffle Girl. Like that. That's what he remembered more than anything else. It's like Dougal and Father Ted when they say you were wearing your blue jumper. That's what. Him and Clara are like.
Yeah, it is a bit. It is a bit.
And
Yeah.
speaking of that, I actually read a theory. It was on some sort of forum a few days ago that one of the main criticisms people have of the whole idea of the fugitive Doctor is that if this Doctor supposedly came before Hartnell, and then that TARDIS materializes as a police box, but at that point, if it was Doctor's TARDIS, the chameleon circuit hadn't been broken then. People had this theory that because Clara entered the Doctor's time stream and therefore was in all of the Doctor's, all the events in the Doctor's life all at once, that she somehow influenced his decision to pick that particular TARDIS because it was the one that the fugitive Doctor, his incarnation before, used. So...
Well, you could bend anything enough to try and make it fit.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, you can't you? If you really try hard.
To be honest, that's a bit of a wizard.
You're certainly racking up a coincidence theory, aren't you? To suggest that the TARDIS the first Doctor stole from Gallifrey was actually the same TARDIS that the fugitive Doctor stole from Gallifrey, or maybe even been issued as a service TARDIS in service of the whatever that stupid organisation was called, the Division or something. So you could find a way to explain anything. That's why it's science fiction. But the question is, does it really need to be done? Does it really help the story? And the whole mess. That whole mess is.
Yeah.
We're never going to actually properly talk about it. Oh dear. You're doing very well. Keep going, mate. Keep going.
So the group head down after they escape from the Dalek puppets into the sort of underworld of the Dalek Asylum, where all the main things happen and all the prisoners are kept. And they encounter a series of obstacles, sort of locked doors, things like that. And that's when Oswin comes in to try and assist them with her main objective is to lure them to her because she thinks she's being held prisoner as a human in some sort of cell, and therefore they can let her out. But of course, what we find out later in the story,
rescue me is what she wants. Quite sensibly, she's trapped on a planet of freaking Daleks.
Yeah.
So we see her interacting with the group, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's something to do with.
Well, these bracelets.
The bracelets.
The bracelets prevent the Daleks' defense system from turning them into Dalek puppets.
Yeah,
but,
that's it. Yeah.
Amy's is damaged, so the Doctor, I think, ends up giving her his. So he's trying to resist Dalek puppetry. At the same time, Rory gets separated from them, and he's got this room of slowly coming awake mad Daleks to try and navigate his way out of. And there's this thing where is it Rory or Amy who perceives these room full of people
Amy.
Dressed in strange outfits and evening wear and ballerinas and but then somehow they realise that no, these are these mad Daleks, so there's kind of play head games with the audience as to exactly what's real. It kind of works. Hands up, who fanboyed all the different Daleks from all the different eras of the show?
I didn't even notice them, to be honest, because they were kept in background shots. It was basically just the RTD era Daleks, and that was that.
Yeah.
Well, and of course the Paradigm Boys got a bit of a look into. But no, you can see special weapon Daleks and Spiridon Daleks, and my eyes were certainly sharp enough to see these things and go, "Ooh."
I did
like that one of the Daleks the Doctor fights is a victim, a survivor of the Spiridon campaign.
No, actually, they don't use the
fallen
design.
Out with deep freeze, with mental trauma. Probably twitches.
It's not just Spiridon. When he goes into that room, they're survivors of lots of stories. One is from
Kemble
Vulcan.
is another one reference, isn't it?
Yeah, Kemble.
Yeah.
and Iridius as well, the chase. And the thing is, there is one Dalek that's left behind when you watch the chase. Remember when they lure that
there
Dalek
is,
over the
there
cliff?
is.
So he's obviously
Yes.
the one that's in there. And as you say, a third one will be one from Spiridon.
So, or it could be one was recovering from light ray sickness after getting coated in invisible paint. You know,
Yeah.
who am I? I'm having an existential crisis. So, I mean, at least that part of the story was fun, although it had no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
No, none at all. Yeah,
But
it was just there.
all mad Daleks at the end of the day.
Yeah, basically.
As if you could tell the difference.
Well, yes.
Other Daleks thought they were mad.
Yes.
That's a bit of a difference.
Madness.
I mean, they also kind of thought they were holy, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know,
No.
divine insanity.
No, that's sorry, not being nitpicky, but that's the parting of the ways. Remember, that's the big Dalek.
Now, wasn't
Emperor
there some
thing.
kind of reference to it as well as to why they haven't killed them? The Doctor
Oh well,
asked
yeah,
one
there is.
to
There's a
kill
thing
them
of
off.
they don't like killing beautiful
They have some
hatred
kind
or
of
something like
reverence.
that.
Maybe
Yeah.
they don't express it as divine because that might be more towards the God Emperor in parting ways, as you say. But they certainly have some kind of extreme reverence for these Daleks, just so off the wall that they can't even be trusted not to exterminate each other. It's brilliant. That's fun. That was fun. I've derailed you again, Goldenagedgreek. Please go.
No, it's fine because I mean I don't remember all these fine details that some of you do. So it's like I'm learning things again and I'm watching it again in a different light.
When the panel watches the episodes before we do the live stream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Won't be the case next week, will it, boys?
No.
No. We all say did. Right, moving on. God.
So we saw Amy being sort of tricked by the Daleks into perceiving something that wasn't actually there, and we get a sort of similar thing with Rory, where he goes up to a Dalek and he tries to talk to it. And I don't think Rory has ever encountered Daleks before, unless you're considering his time as the Lone Centurion. But I don't think the Rory as we know has actually talked or knows of Daleks. So when he goes up to one and it's having trouble verbally communicating with him, and it says eggs, and he thinks it's saying eggs. So that's sort of play for laughs.
Brilliant though. He goes, he picks up a fallen Dalek globe off the floor. Is this what you want? Yeah. Eggs.
And then we get the whole exterminate, and he's like, "Oh shit!" So he gets out of there. And then we get a moment between Amy and Rory where we find out why there's this drama between them and why they have broken up, and it's revealed. I believe, again, this is going from memory. I believe that Amy can no longer have children, so she ended it with Rory because she thought that he would want more children. So I believe that's what happened there. So we get
completely sucky contrived writing.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Roughly roundabout right. That sounds about right.
There was no reason for them to have problems in their relationship, and especially over something as ridiculous as a fear like that, which you resolve by talking to people, not driving them away.
Yes,
so
indeed.
You know, it made Amy look like a very self-obsessed, facile person.
Yeah, agreed.
Why did he even do it?
Look good.
When they get back together, at the end of the episode.
Well, could it
it's
be?
never mentioned again. They're completely fine for the rest of the series. So it's like you could
it be that it wasn't entirely sure if they were going to be in Series 7 at the time we was right at the end of Series 6.
Right.
I don't know. I still don't, because it's like that scene. It's so weird. It's like there's no need. You could take that out. You could just have Amy and Rory be a couple in that episode, and it wouldn't change a single thing about it. So why they bothered putting that in and then just to resolve it. Like in the scene it's brought in, it's so weird and random.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, does it, at all?
Mm.
Especially as for the rest of the series, they're fine. I don't know.
I'm
Really
slightly
don't know.
confused here, boys. Time Prophet's asking me, doesn't it make you a nasty comment on Twitter resolve all problems? Have I been nasty on Twitter? I'm not sure.
No, I
It's
think
my
what he's
usual
saying is,
self.
I think what he means is like that's the solution to all problems now. You don't tackle a problem, you just make a nasty comment on Twitter. And
Oh,
that's,
of course you do. Yes, obviously.
that's
You know.
that's how you solve problems nowadays. You don't sit down and talk, you just fire nasty comments at each other over Twitter.
Oh, it's fun over there again today, is it? I haven't paid that much attention as to the latest idiotic drama from the Doctor Who world.
Oh well, yeah, I'm sure some insanity's happened. As I said, I haven't caught up. I'm a week out, so I have
They're
no
on
idea.
about David Tennant again. They're still having a good cry about him being back in it.
Oh, like get over yourselves, really.
It is very much. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Oh dear. Let's get to the end of this
Actually-
story.
Sorry.
I mean, that's one of the things about this story, isn't it? It has got a heck of a lot crammed into it.
It squeezes a lot in. It really does squeeze a lot
Personally,
in.
I like it though. I think it's a really good story. It kind of reminds me of like a John Pertwee era Dalek story. And I know a lot of people won't think that's a compliment, but I actually really like the John Pertwee era Dalek stories. I think they're really, really fun. And this one to me, it's like kind of Planet of the Daleks or Death of the Daleks. You know, it's like
Well, I
it's
mean,
like-
Day of the Daleks, I think, is the strongest Pertwee Dalek story.
oh yeah, obviously
I
that's
think,
a
you
really,
know, it's because the core plot was something else entirely, and then Daleks were into it. Whereas, you know, Planet of the Daleks, we all know, is Terry's greatest hits. And A Death to the Daleks is it's got its moments of originality, but he's also really wandering off character with them. Let's put it that way.
Just
Not
a bit.
so-
So you know, when he had a
I
chance to sort of
respectfully-
then lay
I
down his
respect-
magnum opus, Genesis of the Daleks, the following year, you know, he really did toughen them up a lot. But just depends how
personally,
you
I
look
think
at it. You like Death
so I was gonna
best?
say, well, not above Genesis, obviously, and I would agree that Day of the Daleks is the best of the joint ones. But I think Death is actually very underrated. I think it's quite a creative, interesting
Day
tale,
Best
and I think
story.
actually
Day
uses
is
the
the best
Dalek
story.
quite well. Like I think because like you see how kind of crafty they are, the way they are the only other ones that are able to get into the city, and the way they get round the not having the weapons. So I don't think it's actually as bad as people make out. And to be honest, Asylum is kind of like it's kind of similar. It's like it's one it's not ever going to be a Genesis.
If it wasn't for the Dalek, sort of to self-destructing an act of self-pity, because he let Sarah Jane escape. I mean, it's things like that that just really let the Daleks down when we were doing stupid things like that with them.
To be fair, I'll even defend that because I'll say that in previous stories, you see the Daleks kill subordinates when they fail. So maybe that Dalek was just jumping to the chase, So
I'm not gonna let that gold Dalek execute me. I'm taking myself out.
Yeah.
I have failed. Boom! Suck it, Black Dalek. Yeah.
That's the only way you can justify that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh
Oh,
dear.
dear.
Well, look, in the end, the Doctor finds his way to Clara. But he discovers, we know that she will become Clara, but of course, this is Oswin.
Yes, Oswin.
So, not actually Clara at all, this one's not supposed to be.
No.
I don't think it's supposed to be a split to a time Clara. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, in fact, I probably am wrong about that. But the flip shot of it is she can't have made all these souffles.
Yeah.
Where did she get the milk?
Well, exactly.
Then we discovered there are no cows.
There are
on
no
the
cows.
Dalek Asylum planet. And in fact, the milk is kind of juicing her brain because Clara's brain, Oswin's brain, is inside a Dalek. Oswin is a Dalek. She is a Dalek. Can't be saved. It's too late. Dr. Buggers off. Amy and Rory get back to the Dalek ship. Go, ha, we've escaped. But Oswin does do one thing in that she wipes the Dalek's memory of the Doctor. So he turns up and they go, who the hell are you? And they buy him off now and leave.
That was
supposed to be the big change that resulted in this story. That wasn't much of a change.
No, not really.
But apparently,
it didn't go
there was a
anywhere.
brief period where the Daleks did not know who the Doctor was.
Yeah.
Which was nice. Bit of a break. Yeah.
Bit of a break, bit of a change.
Okay, well, look, let's try and get some sort of coherence on the go here. But before we do our own scores for this one, why does fandom feel like it feels about Asylum of the Daleks? What's wrong with it?
I don't know.
I don't really know, to be honest, because I think it might be, again, like Death to the Daleks. Sorry, did I talk over you there?
It's all right. Crack on. Carry on.
Oh, well, 'cause all I was going to say was I think it's maybe a thing of, like, the Daleks they're like the Joker, if you know what I mean, in the sense of they're the absolute biggest baddies that most people view as being the best villains of the series. I mean, I love the Daleks. So they always expect the Dalek story to be this big, unbelievable spectacle. I mean, it's just a kind of, fun romp. Then it maybe comes in for more flack than it deserves. Even more so because Russell T Davies made them.
Was this lacking in spectacle? I mean, I think it had a lot of spectacle, actually.
Well,
the way that these first 5 stories in Series 7 were actually presented with marketing, they were all given unique movie-style posters.
I mean,
and were presented as one-off movie-style stories. So
I meant spectacle.
There was a budget that was spent on this. It looked quite grand in places.
I didn't so much mean in terms of budget, in terms of like being a big story. Like, say, Journey's End is like the season 4 finale. Like, Parting of Ways is even like that's like a big deal in the series. Whereas Asylum, like as I said, because all stories were kind of one-offs, it's not really. I mean, people wouldn't know about the Clara thing till later, so it's not really that big a deal.
Mind you, I reckon fans might have had a better than 50-50 chance of being right if they thought Daleks were going to be in the 50th.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we could safely anticipate Daleks.
I agree, but I think that there is that element that the Daleks, people feel that when they're brought back, they should be the main villains, or they should at least play an important part in the story arc. To just bring them back as monsters of the week, a bit demeaning to them, which is why a lot of people wanted them rested, and I can understand, because they felt, well, if they're not going to be the main villains, since they were the main villains in the Davis era.
I have to just interrupt a moment. Time Prophet is informing me that hundreds of CGI Daleks is not a big budget. Once you build one 3D model of a Dalek, it's easy to copy and paste it, lol. To which I say yes, but some poor bugger's still got to sit there all afternoon clicking copy paste. So, you still man hours involved. There is a budget. I bet it's a bloody boring job too, darling. 1,298, 1,299.
No, but I mean, I just say, going by what the fans say, a lot of them, because I remember a lot of them were thinking the Daleks would be involved in Amy and Rory being split up, because there was this poster of the Doctor holding, like, Amy, in his hands. But then, like, it just turned out, oh no, don't worry, it's just, again. And the other John Pertwee ones, people think the Daleks are just brought back, not for any real goal or purpose, just for Daleks. And I think maybe that's why it comes in for more than its fair share of flack.
It makes me think, though, why do that to Amy? Sorry, my mind's gone divergent. I'm just thinking back to what we were talking about earlier. Why make it so the poor girl can't have any more children? Is that just to make River's song extra special?
Perhaps, but
because you could never have a brother or a sister.
I don't know. I just didn't get it. I didn't see there was no need.
Was it a way to avoid having to explain how some other child might not be so special? I have no idea.
No,
It just
it
seems
might-
an unusually cruel thing to do to her.
It is. It is
does.
very, very cruel.
What's the point of it?
Maybe it's because, as you said, if there was another child, people might ask why doesn't it have river song
Special
powers
powers,
after
yeah.
everything that's
Just, you know.
Yeah, but that would have been easier to explain than.
Things that writers do to characters for callous, mercenary reasons. There you are, Amy. It's series 7 now. We've had your womb.
Yeah, that's it. You're done. Finished. It's all over and done with. Yeah,
Fuck
nice
hell,
one.
you know.
Oh,
And nothing
you think
put
the-
up with last season. Baby's
You think the
turning into
Doctor-
goo.
You think the doctor could take her to a time where they could maybe cure her condition? I
Oh,
don't know. Like,
Exactly.
Wow, you know, it wouldn't boggle the mind too much to imagine that something could be done. But there we are.
Oh, I mean, an
Um,
alternate.
We haven't heard much from you in the last few minutes, Golden Age. Tell me, what do you think? Why does fandom have its feelings about this story? And then we'll do our scores and move along.
Well, the only thing I can comment on about why fandom may, in fact, not particularly like this episode is, well, I can look at myself and say that it isn't my favorite. And the reasons I would say that is because, again, with the whole Amy storyline, it comes out of nowhere. It doesn't lead to anything. It feels irrelevant and it takes up a big part of the story.
Yep.
And not only that, I think some of the ideas in it, the Dalek puppets, I think are ridiculous. This whole idea that it causes them to hallucinate and that didn't really do anything. They could have had a really good story where we didn't exactly know what was happening and we didn't know the Daleks were behind it and we didn't know all this stuff. And we have a story where you have the companions seeing illusions or they don't know what's real or what's not, a bit like Amy's Choice. And I think that would have worked a lot better, but nothing really works with the whole Dalek puppet thing because we know what's going on and we know, and there's no way that the writers can trick us because we know what's reality and what obviously isn't. I think that's it. And also with the ending, how Oswin just deleted the Daleks' memory banks of all records of the Doctor, and they don't know who he is anymore, except for the next story where they absolutely know who he is. It's just a bunch
Well,
of things.
I mean, they have to put a line in where they get it from the silence. So, oh, we know who you are again now.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just this story is filled with a bunch of just plot points that are just pulled out of Moffat's arse, which set up nothing, which degrade a lot of things.
It's just like it's got loose threads sticking out all over the place, isn't it? It's untidy.
Yeah.
It's messy.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
that's
It is.
fair.
It's a mess. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's do some scores. I mean, I've always found this enjoyable. I have to admit. I mean, as I say, the Dalek nostalgia must get me a little bit on side. And the time prophet has actually just said in the chat, John White, I have no feelings on this story either way, which I take to mean that if it was on in the room, he wouldn't object. So
yeah,
it at least has an unobjectionable quality, I feel.
Yeah.
And at least it doesn't waste your time and want you to be bored. So, you know, it's got those things going for it. It's got good production values. The soundtrack thumped along very nicely with this as well. The music was quite appropriate. It has genuine moments of mood with the Dalek puppets in the spaceship and also the Dalek ballerinas. And also, to a certain extent, the sort of sting of the cosmic horror of that's Oswin's true situation. She's really a Dalek. Kind of. There's something there. So for all of those reasons, I'm going to come out with a B.
I will come out with a B as well. I enjoyed it. It was okay. It kept me going. So a B is fine by me. Sums it up perfectly. So there you go. What about you, Golden Age Geek?
I would agree with Time Prophet that I wouldn't exactly be angry or anything if I saw this on a TV. I wouldn't say, "Oh no, we have to switch this over" or anything like that. But I would give this a C.
Fair
I
enough.
don't particularly like it. I'm not infuriated by it. I'm not.
The
I
energy
don't
of
think
Matt's
it's the worst
performance
thing.
certainly helps it along as well.
Hmm.
I mean, he's giving it a lot of welly in this.
Yeah, but no. So, how about you, Burranjor?
I would probably be a bit easier on it. I actually do like this story. I admit I'm a real sucker for Dalek stories. I absolutely love the Daleks. And this story does give you a lot of them. And overall, whilst all the criticisms that have been raised here I think are valid, I'm still going to give it an A-. It's a really enjoyable but flawed story, so I think it deserves an A-.
Yeah, and a reminder that the general audience gave this a whopping AI 89.
Yes, so everybody seemed to enjoy this one, pretty much.
And that was just as well, because that's a stomping good start, because then we could go and investigate what was going on with dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Oh, God.
God, dear Lord.
Now, this was a story from our most favouriteest Doctor Who writer,
Oh, God, really?
Mr. Chibnall's of the Chris.
Oh,
God.
I hated this.
And, right, so right old blancmange this is.
Oh, just, no, I didn't like it.
Take your pick. You've got a Silurian spaceship with dinosaurs on it, but the Doctor turns up with his A team to investigate. It also involves Cleopatra and the big game hunter John Riddell.
Of course.
And Rory's dad Brian. No, sorry, that's Cleopatra. Sorry, my error. It was Queen Nefertiti.
Nefertiti. Yeah.
So basically, we find out that this spaceship got like dinosaurs on it, but it's going to crash into the Earth, sort of thing. And there's another ship hooked up to it, which is like a pirate ship. And this guy has come along. He's killed the Silurians, and he wants to nab his dinosaurs and flog them off. And same goes for Nefertiti when he realizes she's an ancient figure from history. He realizes she's worth a lot. So this guy Solomon tries to get his hands on the Doctor's friends. The Doctor stops him. The Doctor sends his own missiles to blow himself up, and then they fix the computer, and I think they're going to wake some more Silurians up to make the whole thing work properly or something. And now there's no need for the Earth to blow up the spaceship because that's right, everybody. There was a countdown. And that's the end of that episode. So there we go. We can move along. No, let's talk about it.
Oh, it was awful. God, it was just. Oh no, it was so painful. It really was. It was such a hot mess of crap.
I was just going to ask the question: was this at least fun? But Sadako kind of answered more annoying than fun. You know, I preempted.
Yes, I found it. I found it groaning more than anything.
Okay. Hands up, Nefertiti. Well played.
Yes, let's carry on screaming. We'll do more fun to watch.
Oh boy!
I think. Sorry.
Go on,
please do.
I was going to say I agree probably with Sadako that it's not the worst Chibnall episode by his terrible standards.
I would second that. I'd actually say it's one of the best Chibnall episodes.
Yeah, by his atrocious standards. Parts of it are decent. I wouldn't say it's switch off the TV terrible, right? I mean, you may have guessed that I absolutely love dinosaurs. I mean, literally.
Let's put it as credit. The dinosaurs were extremely well done. And a lot of effort went into getting them as good as they could be. And they were certainly very convincing for a television budget.
Yeah, they were.
Impressive in size. They had presence.
See,
they were very believable. You know, I mean, it made up for the sins of Invasion of the Dinosaurs so many years before.
Having said that, though, right, whilst they were very well done, I actually don't think they were used really well at all. See when you compare them, there weren't really any interesting dinosaur chase sequences, and they didn't really do anything with the fact that they were on a spaceship.
The best bit was the Petrodons on the beach, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even then, they didn't, there wasn't really anything. They just kind of flew and that was that. There wasn't a big... I mean, watch, say, Camp Cretaceous, it's a TV show, or even watch, say, Terra Nova. I mean, Terra Nova, famous, it's a great show, but it famously didn't really use its dinosaurs that much. But even then, there's some quite creative sequences with the dinosaurs in Terra Nova, whereas there was nothing in that. There was no attempt to build up an atmosphere with them. I mean, to be honest, I think it was... what it smacks of, which is what all Chibnall scripts smack of, is very unimaginative. Chibnall, I think, has just got like his imagination was surgically removed from when he was a boy, because he cannot construct any kind of sci-fi story, and that's what this one is. It's I mean, as one of the commentators said, it's paper thin plot, and it just throws as much shit as it can because that'll be wacky, and like what's the point of Nefertiti even being there? Like there's no reason.
There
also,
there's no point to either of those characters.
No, they didn't need
exactly.
The Doctor and Amy and Rory was quite capable of just landing on the spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
Lost Silurian spaceship was quite an interesting idea. I'd like that it was set a little bit in the future, so it was giving you a look into the Silurians in the future. That was a benefit to it.
Even then, they weren't really used. That's what I'm saying. Like they didn't. They just didn't do anything like anything with it. It was just like it's hard to really explain, but I just felt it was a very, despite having an interesting
it's not hard to explain it. It's Chibnall, it's superficial. You're explaining it perfectly. But I am, I'm reaching to try to find, the bits that may have had some merit to it. But I mean, I think the idea of space pirates looting a Silurian ship is quite interesting. I just think the actual villain was a wanker. And also the way the Doctor dealt with him was morally questionable.
Not really. He deserved it from as far as
I was going to say. There was no moral dilemma there. He deserved it.
Nukem. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I prefer that to, like the Doctor, like saying to Davros, "I can help you," after he's tried to blow up every universe. That was
stupid. Like you'd say that.
Papalaz's very good point. The Silurians must have left 65 million years ago. These people have never understood the timeline.
No.
So it does require you to believe that this spaceship's been at least drifting through space, or under minimum power through space for 65 million years without anything breaking or without running into any big rocks. So
or not being detected by the Earth.
Yeah. So I mean, this could have been set in the past. I mean, it could have been alien space pirates in the past. Could have done something interesting like that. Maybe set up the possible planet of the Silurians to be discovered.
That would actually be a better story.
Yeah, but hey, me and my superior brain to Chris Chibnall, it's not hard, is it?
No.
No.
Another thing about this story...
I can't make a claim to greatness out thinking fucking Chibs.
But just another thing about this story that's so cringy and is like another problem that will become very evident in Chris Chibnall's era, ironically, is that the man cannot write women, in the sense that the bits with Nefertiti where like they keep trying to build her up as being this like big feisty character, and it's
I will point out you are right about what we found discussing Chibnall's era, but we will not be doing it because our stream will be stopping at 10.
But by the way,
we're just not doing that to ourselves or our audience.
No, that's fair enough. But I just say, by the way, another funny thing is, for all like the faux crappy, like we're going to try and make her into like a girl boss, they end up meaning her.
That's why we did the thick series 12 thing, you see, because we were trying to give something back. That's it.
They end up turning Nefertiti into the Doctor's fangirl who tries to force herself on him, remember, at the start?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I agree, it's a terribly written female character. In no way is it a strong, empowering female character kind of shtick. It actually undermines the whole character during the course.
It goes off with a racist colonial guy at the end as well.
Of course. What the hell did he do? So...
his line about "I love women with spirit." It was like Faulty Towers. It really was.
Goldenagedgreek has been quite quiet during this, so we better get some thoughts from him.
Yes, indeed.
Well, there isn't much I can say. As I hinted at before, I'm gonna just be honest. I don't remember a single thing that happens in this episode.
That's amnesia. How much. It's the best answer to a Chibnall episode.
Yeah.
I only wish I could forget, the past few years.
Right, okay, so you'll have to give this an E because you have no memory of it whatsoever. And so,
The division plucked me from the timeline.
Yes,
now,
that was it.
let's do some scores. Gobby, what did you make of it?
I hate it.
E.
I
E
hate
hate
it.
it.
I hate
E
it.
hate it. Right.
No, that's it. I'm done.
Burranjor.
Well, I'm probably going to give it a D because I don't think it's the worst, and the dinosaurs are good, but it's a fairly sloppy, lackluster
It's
adventure.
not the worst story in Series 7.
No, I know, but
Actually, I think it might be. Personally, I think it is the worst story in Series 7, but it's not the worst story in general. So I'm going to give it a D.
Okay. I'm going to give it a D, but we'll see. Maybe you might change that view. Maybe you might just give it another one is worse. We'll find out. Let's see how our discussions
actually,
go.
no, sorry. Another Chibnall one might be worse. I'll give you that. Okay.
Now you remembered.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I didn't think that would last long. But the only question is, do I show it any mercy whatsoever and join Burranjor with a D, or do I condemn it with an E? Nah, screw it. E.
yeah. Popular episode then.
Actually, another story which I have never really vibed with, I will admit. But maybe we will find out a way to show it how to live in a town called Mercy.
God.
I was torturing that slightly to get that to fit, but I looked it in there.
Yeah. Oh God.
Well, Doctor Who was doing really well in America. So here's an American episode for the Americans.
Great.
It's very, very hard not to see this episode as exactly that.
Yes, it's to appease the Americans.
I'm not using the word like appease, but it certainly feels like throwing the American audience a scrap, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
And we spent some money going there to make it as well.
Well, of course.
But the TARDIS lands outside the town of Mercy in the Wild West in 1870. I don't think it ever says what state it's in.
No,
it doesn't. Like California or New Mexico or maybe Arizona. It's somewhere hot and dusty.
Yeah.
And the TARDIS discover that the town's doctor, Jex, is actually not a human at all. He's an alien.
Yeah.
Which is bad news because there's a ruthless killings alien cyborg gunslinger that wants to kill him. And it's being kept out of the town by this kind of field thing, but it's not going to go very well if that collapses. And as this carries on, the Doctor discovers that rather than being a helpless innocent, this scientist was in fact a kind of Nazi eugenics monster who was involved in creating cyborgs to fight in a war. And this cyborg is, I think, the last of his unit or something.
Yeah, the last of the squad.
Out for revenge on having his brain cannibalized and to turn him into the ultimate soldier. So the Doctor's then got to decide, should he throw Jex to the gunslinger, or should he help Jex get away from him? But before the Doctor has to resolve that, Jex commits suicide anyway because he doesn't want anyone else to get hurt. Yes. And then because Jex is dead, the Doctor is able to reach out to the gunslinger, communicate with him, get him to stop blowing himself up, and he becomes the new Marshal.
Of course.
Because what alien killing cyborg wouldn't be the sheriff of the 1870s Western town?
Of course, and he wouldn't
know. This wonderful effort came from Toby Whithouse. Who I remind people is also talked about in terms of being a potential showrunner for Doctor Who.
Yes, indeed.
Sharp intake of breath.
Yes, I think we got the bullet on that one. Because this.
Let's see what you guys made of it. Who wants to open up on this one first? Give it 6 barrels.
I'll start, Charlotte, because I actually disagree with you guys here.
Brilliant, excellent. Go for it.
Well, personally, I loved this episode. I thought it was a really good one. I can see why people would think it was a bit of pandering to the Americans, but I will say I actually think they did their homework quite well. Like in terms of where it was shot, It was filmed in a place called Mini Hollywood, which I've actually visited. It's really Mini Hollywood is in Spain, and it's where all of the spaghetti westerns were
Yeah.
Oh
filmed.
my God, they went to Spain instead of America. Oh, I've been fooled us dreadful there.
Yeah, they did, but that's the point. It's short.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an homage or pastiche to A Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And for what it is, I think it was quite a fun little pastiche. And I will say, westerns, apart from the gunfighters, isn't really something that Doctor Who's tackled that much. So I thought that was quite a new and interesting subgenre. I thought that the guy who played the alien science, thought he was a good character because he was quite morally grey, and like you weren't sure whether you hated him or sympathised with him. And the alien itself was quite threatening, and again a little bit,
I'm just looking
was
at the
good or
chat.
bad.
Capelaz says they have to pop out. I'm not sure if they already have, but they just came in with this comment. But Doctor Mate wore a cowboy hat last season. Like the fairs, perhaps the memes. They tried to make a cowboy episode as a result. This is not writing.
Well, I mean,
Matthew Pounder also very unimpressed with this one. He says another tedious story.
Yes,
And
indeed.
Sadako says he's always found Toby Whithouse a bit overrated.
Wow, I'm really on my own here, but I saw
Yeah, absolute pig swole yeehaw. We seem to have took a guinea.
Yes.
In a way that us Brits can sometimes if we get our backs up to something with a guinea.
Well,
but let's see where Goldenagedgreek comes in.
Well, I would agree with Burranjor, actually. I think this episode is very underrated. I like it quite a lot. And I think what appeals to me the most is the character-driven moments where we see them having conversations about the morality and the wrongdoing of the not the Doctor, but the Doctor character. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one scene that sticks out to me the most whenever I think back to this episode is when 11 has his big sort of meltdown moment where he drags the other Doctor outside, and he throws him out and leaves him for the cyborg to sort
have
of
his way with,
kill.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is what works so well about this episode, in my opinion. It is the idea of morality and guilt, and sort of coming to terms with that. And this season, obviously with the 50th, we have the whole time war coming back around again. And of course, the Doctor has done very despicable things during the time war. He had to, become someone else in order to be able to survive and fight for what he believed in. So I kind of view it in a way as the Doctor seeing himself, or the monster that he thinks he is, in someone else. So that's why he freaks out at this other character. Because
that's fair enough. I mean, there's some care taken to try to give this some depth, to create these reflections. No, it's not a Swedish flag behind him. Try again.
No.
I think there's some quite good comedy in this one too. I quite like the bit where Amy tries to make out that she's willing to shoot him, but she's such an idiot with the gun that goes off. Like,
maybe that's another reason I don't like it.
Okay, fair enough.
I think I'm just thinking about cowboys. I mean, I love spaghetti westerns. I absolutely do. I've seen them with everybody else, and I love a bit of good, bad, and ugly. So I mean, those films are all classics. But when it comes to putting that tone into science fiction, I mean, there was the film Cowboys and Aliens, which was a flop.
Oh yeah.
Not that long before this came out, maybe a couple of years before this came out. I just can't really think of a time that Wild Western science fiction has ever worked especially well. I mean, Star Trek probably did it the closest with their Wild West planets,
Yes, they did.
Have you heard of the Ray Harryhausen movie that was cowboys versus dinosaurs?
Oh, that was what was it called now?
Guanji.
Burranjor,
Valley of the Guanji. That was a good film.
Oh, I have, yeah, but I mean, I wasn't the cowboys and dinosaurs. Is not cowboys and robots, or cyborgs, or spaceships, or lasers. So I was, I think the two are different. I don't think the dinosaur movies are supposed to be science fiction, unless it's just as part. But like the Conan Doyle Lost World stuff certainly wasn't supposed to be sci-fi. So yeah, cross genre stuff to a certain extent, but I just felt that this just didn't land for me. It just wasn't the story that I wanted, and maybe that's a very selfish thing from a fan, but I didn't vibe with it at the time. I've never really clicked with it. I maybe watched it once or twice in the years since. It's not a story that strikes me as up my favourites chart. So I'm going to come in with a C on this one.
I will come in with a D plus. I didn't
D
enjoy
plus
it.
from Gobby. So
I'm
I
a
can't
huge-
think it's so terrible. I think it's at least average. I just don't.
Yeah.
It just never lit my fire, and I felt a bit bored during it.
Thing is, I'm a huge Western fan, so I didn't really enjoy this, even though I knew where it was being filmed.
Do you think that the homaging this genre just didn't work, then, Gobby?
No,
it should have worked or could have worked?
It
Or
could.
was it just never gonna work?
I don't know.
I mean, the Gunslingers would be the obvious.
Yes, exactly.
Long time ago,
but no.
But I mean, that was a comedy episode.
Well, it was
all out.
Yeah, all the way through. But I just, even though I knew where it was filmed, and obviously I love the spaghetti western westerns. It just, I don't know, it just didn't sit right with me. So, although I won't say it was a really bad episode, but I just
makes me want to watch Gunslingers a lot more.
Yes,
have you ever been to Mini Hollywood?
No, I haven't, unfortunately.
It's really good. I mean, I was there literally 20 years ago, but it was good.
Well, we've got a C and a D plus at the moment. You guys are going to improve on this, I'm pretty sure.
Right, go on then. Say Burranjor first, then.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to be controversial. I'd give it an A. I'd give it an A, just a straight A, not an A plus or an A minus, just an A. I think it's that good.
So what's it going to be, Goldenagedgreek? A, B, or C?
With Burranjor here, I give it an A as well.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, so
awesome.
There you go. We'd like to have a real division of opinion on a story,
yes,
because that's excellent. I'm just thinking, the one time I think the Wild West and science fiction were well combined was Firefly.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Firefly is amazing.
Firefly's one of the best series.
But in a way, that was more the Civil War than the Wild West.
Yeah,
Paul Darrow always. Oh, so Paul Darrow always said he saw Blake 7 as being a bit of a western in space. And that's one of the best shows ever.
Magnificent Seven. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Which he didn't all ride on one horse called Liberator.
Well, yeah.
The Great Silence is very similar to I don't want to give anything away for those who haven't seen it, but there's quite a big similarity between the Great Silence and Blake 7 too.
Deep Space Nine is a western in space, just WWC review.
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
All westerns have got wormholes part next door to a galaxy.
Of course,
far away.
know that. No, what it means is because DS9's like that. The old outpost.
All right. Not that.
Yeah.
All westerns have got crazy spiritual entities looking to take you over with possession.
That's the one.
That's right. No, he's right about Time Prophet's right about Star Trek. It was based on Wagon
Okay. Let's get serious.
Don't start on the Trek.
All Westerns.
Sorry. Last one. There's a great Western.
Former enslaved refugees. Yeah,
Sorry, there is another good. There is another good sci-fi
Western.
Yeah, it was good.
Is it Cisco's for sheriff in that part of the galaxy? Is that what it is?
Pretty much.
He's the man in the chair.
He's the man in the chair.
If there's trouble, he rides out in his Defiant.
He's off in his Defiant, giving him something.
I suppose in that sense, fair enough.
There
is another good sci-fi Western.
But in that sense, fair enough.
There is another good sci-fi Western, the Red Dwarf one.
Oh yes.
Oh yes,
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 Gunmen of the
yes.
Apocalypse.
Another
Right.
Joys of the Apocalypse, Joys of the Hologram. Do you
Yes.
know that story was nearly never filmed? They had to go to huge lengths to rescue that. They nearly had to scrap it. They had huge problems making that story.
Yeah.
So it's a special gem, that one.
It
Yes,
is.
indeed.
Rimmer's hard guy act, and then he loses his powers. His little
The powers, you say? What? You mean the power of 3?
Yes, the
Oh,
he's
look at that!
Oh,
he's working in like a genius. And it's a
But,
Christmas story. Oh,
oh
dear.
God, we're here again.
Oh no, please God, no. Please, no.
Mr. Chris Chibnall.
Oh no. Oh, God's sake. Oh,
Amy
God.
and Rory are wondering whether they should just forget the Doctor and try and live a normal life, right? So they're having a really good go at living a normal life. What
Yeah,
they're doing,
remember
all
this
those black
episode
cubes
before?
just arrive everywhere. So what have I missed, Gobby?
I was just going to say, remembering that just 3 episodes ago, they hated each other. So,
Yes.
I mean, you know, now
Yes,
they're thinking about living,
absolutely.
settling down and living together. Didn't take long, did it?
So there's all these black cubes turn up, but they don't actually do anything
No,
for
just
a year. Meanwhile, the Doctor's just hanging around because he didn't know what the hell else to do with himself, apparently.
yeah, nothing else.
And he's trying to play Xbox and or is it Wii or do hoovering or do football in the back garden, and is just generally being an extremely ADHD child with extreme autism.
Yep, it's just nothing. To do.
Is that unfair?
No, I don't think it's unfair.
Actually, not, is it really?
Really?
Then the cubes start working, and then there's a spaceship, and there's these people with cubes shoved in their mouths who are kidnapping people, but not really sure why. And then they go up to a spaceship, and there's a man in a spaceship, and he's got a plan, and the Doctor stops him, and they all go home.
Yep, that pretty much sums it up.
If you want me to try and explain this story,
No, don't.
better than that, I'm going to struggle.
No, don't, because that's about as best you could describe it, I would imagine.
Because it's very much like 2 stories, this one.
Yeah.
And the first 2/3 are all about Earth and the mystery of these cubes and why are these cubes here. And then that just gets completely forgotten for a blow up the alien in the spaceship ending.
Yeah, that's just typical Chibnall. Starts off, then changes his mind. And
now, I did hear a story about the making of this story.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the chap they got to play the alien at the end. A part that, frankly, is so forgettable, I can't remember what it was called. The Shakri, I think. He was really did not get on with the makeup and was really freaking out and was in a very bad mood. So this performance that you see on screen is all they were able to really get out of him.
Yeah.
And that somehow, rather than recasting and remounting, they went ahead and used this instead. It's a story I've heard in relation to the behind the scenes of this one, but I don't know how accurate it is.
It's a shame, really, because the actor was a really good. It was Stephen Burkoff, wasn't he? He's a good actor.
Stephen Burkoff actually played the famous Stephen Burkoff is who they got to play that alien.
Yeah. The Stephen Burkoff. That's what I mean.
Well, apparently he was really unhappy on set.
What a waste! I mean, he's exactly a famous actor, isn't he? Like, I mean, to get him to do it.
Maybe he finally got his hands on a script at the last minute.
That's what gave him an allergic reaction.
I spent 8 hours in the fucking makeup chair for this.
Yeah, it was it. But yeah, I mean, you get someone you like it, and you just don't. You waste him. You wasted him. To be fair,
awful.
Like, we've got to talk about another aspect of this as well, which is Brian.
Brian.
Sadako raises this. Brian's speech urging Amy and Rory to go with the Doctor at the end was unbelievable, uncredible, rang completely untrue. 100%. 100%. He was like, oh, well, we set this up last week, but Brian's a bit unhappy about Amy and Rory going out into space. So this week we'll have him completely forget all about that and not give a shit anymore. the actual result is going to be he's never going to see either of them ever again. And the show's never going to come back to focus on his reaction or give a shit about him.
Well, typical Chibnall again.
No, Moffat.
Oh, Moffat. So, well, it's strange, isn't it? I
Does
don't know.
Moffat give Brian any kind of closure at the end of the following week?
There was a spin-off thing, I think. I'm not sure if it was filmed or one. I'm sure one of the commentators might know this, but there was a spin-off thing that was called, was it PS or something? That's apparently Amy and Rory's adopted son from Manhattan delivering Brian a letter telling him what happened, and they hug. I mean, it's mawkish crap, but they did.
Sounds execrable. It really does.
Oh.
JWC reviews. I thought Brian was rubbish. Another unnecessary domestic character. Why? The character was pretty rubbish. The actor was fantastic.
Yeah, Mark Williams.
Yeah,
Mark Williams is an old pro.
also known as the Weasley dad from Harry Potter films.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Being Human,
and so many other genre roles.
He's been in so many things. He's really good.
Yeah. But Dwarf, of course, he was Peterson.
Yep. But another actor, wasted.
He also in Bottom is the one that gives Richie the bumps. Remember when they throw him up to the ceiling?
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed.
We give him the bumps. Shall we give him the bumps? Yay!
So you know, with this program, this production obviously squandered what it had going for it.
Yeah.
And a huge amount of fingers for that have got to be pointed at the script.
Absolutely, 100%.
What's your view, Goldenagedgreek?
This episode is, again, it's a Chibnall episode. It's generic in many ways. It, falls back on many of the tropes that he usually sets up. However, I would say that I do prefer this to Dinosaurs on a Spaceship for some reasons. And I think there are some scenes in this episode which are quite touching and do sort of put you in the sense of security about the companion trio before
let me ask this question. Right, up until the sort of 2/3 point, does this story have potential to be a B or an A even? I mean, is it wrecked by the last act?
Yeah, I agree. It's ruined by the last act.
I don't think it would have been a masterpiece. However, it could have been salvaged from totally just dumpster fire to pretty average.
Maybe B- potential for the whole Cubes plot line.
The plot line was there, but I don't even think it'd go up to a B. I'd probably get to about a C.
Wasn't that exciting idea? Having Hagger out for a year doing nothing isn't a good story choice.
It's not really, is it? Because surely somebody had gone around and picked them up.
Maybe there's somebody with a writing hat on who'd like to contradict me on that, but it sort of lacks urgency.
Well, it does, doesn't it? There's no a whole year just doing nothing.
The plot is to decorate the planet in these little cubes, just abandon them so they get used as coasters. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell? But nobody on Earth was clever enough to find out a way to crack them open and find at least some way to use them. It must at least have a power source.
It must have, but we just left them.
I think somebody would be looking for some way to exploit them, or maybe the Doctor nullified the threat and then some stupid human meddling set it off again or something. So it just seemed like just so and then meh. The end is just unspeakably meh.
It's
to
typical
me.
Chibnall, and it's just so unoriginal. I mean, like when the guy wrote the Silurians one, he just did a complete retread of the original John Pertwee one, but he did it much worse. And here, he just reuses all the Russell T Davies era tropes of an invasion in modern day where we see it in the news, we see celebrities.
With a countdown.
And again, he manages to make it crap. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Russell T Davies era, but even I can see that Russell at least put a bit of spectacle into, say, Doomsday, when you see the ghosts. Whereas this, it's fucking cubes.
Is Matt Smith over the top in this story?
I think he's the only thing that saves it because he's at least entertaining. I mean, he's over the top, but at least like he's a one-man show, so he stops it from being quite so tedious. It's not just them sitting on a couch, which it basically is, because Matt Smith's a bit of a Tim Curry type, running around and doing mad stuff. So
it's just as well. Can you imagine Colin Baker had to play that?
Oh, God.
I do Wii tennis.
Do you not like Goldenagedgreek?
No, I'm just being cruel.
You are.
A joke, really.
True.
Forgive
Imagine
me, but it's
Jody.
just the juxtaposition, It's like, I mean, you're right. Matt's energy is important to hold this whole thing together. I see it fall apart so much earlier. I just think that it was maybe relying on him so much, but it was breaking point in the first part at least. I could see people watching that turning it off as crap.
It wasn't enjoyable. It really wasn't. Yeah, so
have we got everyone's views in on this one now? Have anyone got anything else to say?
Well, I just wanted to touch on what I brought up a few minutes ago about there are some scenes in this episode which it doesn't redeem the whole episode, but they do stick with me, and I wouldn't want to erase them for anything, even if we do get a very bland episode. So you have the Doctor and Amy by the River Thames, and it's a very human moment. He's confessing to her about his worries, and she asks him, "Why do you keep on coming back for us, even though you keep on dropping us off and then leaving again?" And he says that it's hard to leave them because she was the first face that his face saw. And you have to remember, at this point in the Doctor's life, he thinks that this is, after this incarnation, he's going to die because all of his regenerations are up. So when Tennant went from being very sad and he regenerated, and there is a lot of things in the lore which do hint to the fact that the Doctor can influence what he becomes in the next incarnation. It's actually something that Moffat brings up again in series 9. So he turns himself into this very whimsical, majestic, very young man.
A little bit more honest about that. It's part of the law that we created around the Capaldi regeneration. It didn't really exist before that. I can't think of anything that was sort of suggesting the Doctor had any kind of influence.
The Master did in Utopia, though, so maybe you could say Time Lords could, and the Doctor's just not good at it. Because remember, the Master says,
but I mean that's the whole point. The Doctor's always supposed to have been crap at regenerations.
Yeah, he's not good.
Well,
at
maybe that's when he could still influence his next phase.
The Master could take in the height, change body shape, take the arms in and out, change the hair color, and then just settle on it and call it one job. The Doctor's never had anything like that kind of
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe he could influence it. Like I said, the Master decides it completely. Mana decides it completely, but the Doctor is
I think if there is an influence, it must be subconscious rather than conscious.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, is what
I could go with subconscious, but I found the conscious influence being a bit much, to be honest.
I will say, sir, just one funny thing. I mean, I agree with Goldenagedgreek. He's right. That is probably a quite a good scene in it. But I just think it's funny because when you think about it, if that's canon now that the Time Lords can influence how they look, it makes the gender bending stuff even more stupid. Because why is the Doctor a sexist? Why did he choose to be a guy 13 times? Even the wife Master beat him to it first. The wife-beating Master tried out being a woman before the Doctor. That's how much of a sexist he is, thanks to that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people feel the same as what Papalaz has just said. I despise the way regeneration, which is a joyous renewal, was turned into death. I mean, we talked about this when we talked about the end of
100% agree with him, 100%. That was, I don't want to go, is one of the worst retcons in the show's history. Absolute fucking bullshit.
However, there's no regenerations in this story, so we better give it some scores. Look, the cube stuff intrigued me a bit. E plus.
E plus. Ooh. I'll give it an E. Dead flat E again. Didn't enjoy this at all. So there you go. How about you, Goldenagedgreek?
I may go with a D plus.
Fair enough.
B plus.
B
And
plus.
Burranjor, what do you fancy?
A D minus, as I don't think it's offensively shit, but it's really boring and lackluster. And really, that like the only reason it's a D minus and not an E is because of Matt Smith being entertaining and silly in it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we basically could just throw Chibnall's entire Series 7 contribution in the bin because they're both rubbish.
Oh, sorry,
a waste of resources.
So one thing about this story actually that we didn't touch on, and I actually forgot just until this end bit, is that this is the first appearance in the show of Kate Lethbridge-Stewart. What's everyone's views on her? Like, you know,
yeah, okay, sure, yeah. There you go. That's proper up. Yeah, I'm neither.
I think it had a great potential. But the way that the Kate Stewart character has actually been used, I think, is nothing like as credible a character as the Brigadier was.
No.
And I also think she's basically been outplayed and shown up to be a bit of an idiot at times, hasn't she?
Yeah, I agree.
So I just don't feel that. I don't think the character was treated with the credibility it required.
Her and Osgood could have been a good new unit family, but they never really used them much. So,
they killed Osgood off for a master gag.
Yeah,
but then they brought her back. So, but they never did anything with that. Are there still all those Zygons on the Earth? That's a ridiculous, like, loose end.
Oh well, yeah. Just forget that. It was supposed to like
probably. Yes.
Golden Age.
Right, now,
what did you think of Kate?
Oh yes.
Sorry, I didn't.
No. Let's talk about it.
She doesn't really have an impression on me. She's just sort of there.
Yeah,
I don't really think anything about the character. It's nothing good or bad in my opinion. She just kind of exists.
Yeah.
Do you think that the lack of nostalgia for Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart compared to an older fan like myself or Gobby might be part of that, but you don't feel that resonance with the role that she's been designed to fulfill?
Yeah.
Well, we can argue if she does or doesn't, actually do it.
I don't really think she establishes herself as being impactful and as having meaning within the story. But I mean, we are getting a unit spin-off in this upcoming era, so we'll have to see what that entails.
Let's see what the writing. Well, good writing could do a lot with the characters.
Yes, it is confirmed.
I wouldn't deny
is
that.
Good
writing could do a lot with the character, and certainly the actress is capable.
Is Ingrid Oliver in the unit spin-off? Because I'd watch it if there was that. I like her, but other than that,
news, and we don't even know if Kate Stewart is going to be in it, but I think we could assume that she would be.
Can't
wait. I'm so enthused about it.
So we'll talk about her character more in stories in which she has more impact. Because it is quite forgettable that she pops up in this.
Yeah, I just thought that. I've wondered if that might.
But you're right. You're quite right to point it out. Okay, so this next one, I'm quite curious about how we will take it, because this was the story that broke hearts across the planet, as Amy and Rory finally take their bows out of Doctor Who. But it meant that in order for that to happen, the Angels had to take Manhattan.
Indeed.
So we have the return of the Weeping Angels in a Stephen Moffat script. So the Doctor's taking Amy and Rory to visit Central Park. And when he's there, Amy's reading a novel about a character called Melody Malone.
Yes.
But Rory is just coming back with a cup of coffee when zap! A Weeping Angel zaps him. And that teleports him to New York in 1938. Where he meets, it's River Song, who wrote the novel.
Yes.
So basically the novel contains spoilers. But as soon as the Doctor or Amy read the novel, they kind of collapse the quantum waveforms across the timelines, and they make it into what happened. So anything they read out of the novel is dangerous. Because if they read it, they make it true. That's part of the story that runs all the way through. So they have to sort of try and get to Rory in 1938, and it's not easy because the TARDIS bounces off this kind of quantum field that the angels have initiated. So the Doctor has to really do something he shouldn't do and force his way in with the TARDIS. And there they find a very old Rory on his deathbed because he's been kept there so long by the angels that they've drained his time energy. So in order to stop that from happening, the younger Rory and Amy have to short circuit the paradox. And there's only one way to do that. They have to kill themselves.
Yeah.
So they jump off the top of the tower to their deaths, being overlooked by the Statue of Liberty, which is also a weeping angel.
Of course it is.
But in doing so, that short circuits all of his time stuff, and they're back in the graveyard with the TARDIS. It looks like they've got away with it. But all of a sudden, poof! A bloody weeping angel again. Nabs Rory again. And the only way that Amy can now be with Rory, because the TARDIS can't break in again, is for her to willingly allow the angel to send her to Rory, which is exactly what she does. And the Doctor is devastated, knowing that he can never, ever, 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 on risk of destroying the universe, ever, ever see them again.
Yeah.
But it's all right because we tell him he's okay in the last part of the book.
Which is, yeah. But you must admit, when they went, it was quite sad. It was a very moving moment, that was. The graveyard.
Did
really
this work? Let's find out. Goldenagedgreek.
I mean, I think it did work. I think the only problem with it is a problem that Moffat continues on with Clara, is that he kept on giving them out. So you had the God complex where they were gone and then they came back and then they were gone and then they came back in Asylum and then they're gone, and then in Power of Three we learned that they're back on Earth, but now they're back again. I think it kind of removes the impact of that, because by the end you're sort of thinking, okay, just get on with it. If they're gonna go, just get rid of them. So yeah. I think it does.
The emotions felt like they've been played out because we played it out before. I read a very valid point.
So when they finally go, you think, well, you know, we've kind of seen this play out like a few times already.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times. I agree with you there. It's but no.
I mean, what the Doctor just left that weeping angel in the graveyard. Like that, nothing was said about that.
No, just bye. But just ignore the fact that it was there. Unbelievable. But again, loose ends, always loose ends.
And to no one's surprise, Big Finish did a story about that.
Yeah.
Did they? Oh, sorry. So what was the Big Finish one? How did they resolve it? Just out of interest.
I have no clue because I don't listen to Big Finish, but I know that they did some story where that ties in.
It would have been convoluted. It would have had to have been convoluted.
The Big Finish would do a spin-off about the Tribe of Gum. Seriously.
Right, things I liked about this. River Song breaking her hand and trying to hide it in her desperation to avoid creating the future that they're trying to prevent. That was quite nice. That showed her strength of character. Rory being managed by the cherub angels. Oh god, that was damn creepy.
Yeah.
So they were creepy stuff, but Papalaz has said weeping angels are not characters; they are MacGuffins.
Yeah,
Sadako and the angels used to feel like an unpredictable entity. In this one, they just feel puppeteered like a complete writer's tool. Yep. In other words, they do the minimum necessary.
Exactly. Yeah,
but if they acted with a bit more agency, they could have really screwed the Doctor and come over way harder than they did in this.
Personally, I disagree. I think this one was a really, really good one, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. This is what we're here for.
Yes.
So, well, expound.
Oh, okay. Well, again, much like Asylum of the Daleks, I definitely can see why some people think there are faults with it. Like the Statue of Liberty bit is so stupid. I don't know why that was thrown in there. I mean, okay, it's a spectacle, but it's such an idiotic spectacle that
rubbish.
you must realize everyone is going to point out how stupid it is, and they have. And it's also the type of thing that like people probably can't get by because it's so stupid. If you know what I mean, it's like that.
Well, it's a kind of a first sign of a kind of thinking that would lead to some of the Series 8 stuff.
Yes, just gimmick,
You know,
gimmick. But
it's not even fairy tale thinking; it's magical thinking.
But you see, it's not even that.
To think with the Statue of Liberty, you could wade across the bay and menace over a building as a gigantic weeping angel, and nobody would notice.
Yeah, I mean, no one saw it. No.
Think of the noise
No one.
feet would make. I mean, never mind how big it is. Even if everyone was asleep
I mean,
somehow,
you need a perception filter as large as a planet, wouldn't you, to get away with that?
Yeah.
We've all watched
You wanna
Ghostbusters 2. We've all watched Ghostbusters 2. We know how much noise that thing makes when it walks.
Yes, and of course, yeah, just rip off Ghostbusters 2. But,
Absolutely.
But
that's not the largest sin, I would say.
No.
That was crap. And I agree as well with Goldenagedgreek that that Weeping Angel just being like left there was
1 hour and 36 into the stream, everybody.
Yes, Tom Prophet finally cracks it.
Well done.
I even told him in the chat.
Oh boy! I don't know. He got as long as we get there, that's what matters.
I just saying, what worked about this story, though, I actually disagree. I think the Weeping Angels were very well done in this story because I think this one did give them a bit more agency. The way they hadn't just like fallen onto the earth, they were like they'd set up, their own little farm. And I think the bit with Rory, that's actually the scariest they've ever been because that idea they're not just killing him like he's trapped in this tiny little room. And
I mean,
that
idea that Weeping Angels operating a time farm, that deserved to be a much bigger story, didn't it?
It was really, and it's the bit at the start where the detective gets warned from his old self. I mean, those are really scary ideas that you're trapped in a tiny little room without any company. Like you're just kept there, like so they can feed on you. That's horrifying. And also the idea that Rory couldn't get away from him. The doctor tells him, even if I could take you out of here.
I'm going to put the same
That's
question
scary.
that I put to Goldenagedgreek, but I mean, it's got all this stuff in it. But did it work as a whole?
I don't know. Personally, this was okay for me. I didn't really enjoy it, but it was okay. It kept me. I didn't turn the telly off. It kept me entertained, and I didn't groan as much through this one like the one before. But yeah, it was all right. It was okay, I suppose. But I always think that the Weeping Angels have always been underused, any case, because I think they're a great enemy, a great possibility. But
they're a great idea.
Yeah, they are. They're a brilliant idea.
Realizing the idea seems to be elusive.
Yes, I agree with that.
You know what the Weeping Angels basically are? Do you remember in the old Mario games when there'd be the ghosts, right? You'd look at them and they would stop, but then you'd turn away and they'd come after you.
That's true.
That's what they are. In fact, some of those ghosts even turned to stone when you didn't look at them. So they wear them and they cover their eyes in the same way. So the Weeping Angels.
That's how it goes. Here's Moffat, desperate for an idea, puffing away on Super Mario 2. Oh, hang on.
Oh, hold on a minute. I'll just make them statues because they
turn into statues.
Nintendo comes up with winning ideas. You can't say they don't.
This is true. Oh dear me. I agree with Matt there. It did feel like it rushed. It was rushed a bit. It could have been a two-parter.
I think it suffered from Moffat's writing. It's all way too much squeezed up in there. Definitely some really good ideas in there. But I think I was just so bored of the Will, Amy and Rory please fuck off at that point. But I just didn't buy into the emotion of it, I think. But I do appreciate it as a bit of a weird, a bit of a freaky story. In no way is it as cohesive as Blink. and I just feel it's not truly memorable.
Mm. Fair enough. That's a good comment.
So I'm going to venture to a score. I'm not going to score it down as harsh as I'm not going to score it down too hard because I do think it's got good stuff in it. So I'm going to settle on a B.
And I will settle on a B minus.
B minus from Gobby.
B minus.
So maybe our scores aren't as bad as you thought, but you know, I'm still interrogating this story because it didn't satisfy me properly.
No, the thing is, there was lots of potential there.
Yeah,
it just didn't seem to get used.
Like the whole of Series 6.
Yeah. Agreed. So, what do you think, Goldenagedgreek?
I will give this an A minus. I do think that the exit did work. Of course, my observation earlier about the constant companion exits was much more of an objective criticism than something that bothered me. But one thing that this story does well, that another Weeping Angel story that we talked about a few weeks ago with Series 5, you know, The Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone, that one irritated me because Chibnall, it felt like he was backtracking on his lore, in my opinion. I know we had a discussion about that. But there were a few scenes in that which annoyed me. Whereas with this episode, it feels like he was trying to get back to basics in a way with the Weeping Angels. So I respect that.
Fair enough.
I've got, just before we ask Burranjor his score for this one, I've got one more question that's occurred to me. What do we think of the Doctor's relationship with Amy in the first half of Series 7? Is it debasing? But especially in Power of 3, he seems to be too pathetic to get on with his life and move on and let them get on with theirs. I mean,
they do that a lot in NuWho.
Yeah, that's
the Doctor.
Peter
Capaldi would be the most pathetic when he's begging Clara to.
Yeah, but I mean, that's later. I'm trying to think of this in the context of when this was going out and what had come before. So when this was the latest thing.
I think it's just typical because they've done it with kind of Rose, where he commits a genocide because he loses her. They kind of made someone in this very chat even said NuWho Doctor is needy, and I would agree with that.
Yes, very needy.
All right, hold on. He comes up with some crackers from time to time. Moffat created Weeping Angels. Chibnall's created Weeping Fans.
This one there.
Well, he actually says
That's perfect.
Absolutely true. That's just absolutely spot on. That is, yeah, absolutely perfect.
All right, let's finish up with your score for Angels Take Manhattan, please, Burranjor. What did you make?
Well, I'm going to give it a straight A. Again, maybe an A minus because the Statue of Liberty bit is very crap. But apart from that, again, like I said, it uses the Weeping Angels in some ways. I mean, it's not as good as Stories Blink, but it's actually scarier because what they do to Rory and the idea that you can never escape from them, that's actually a terrifying idea.
I think this score's really interesting on this one. You know, you guys have both come up with an A, but me and Gobby, we're more dubious about the story, but we can still come up with a B rather than a C.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the gap between how we all view it obviously isn't that big. There must be a lot we all like in common about this one, really. So, you know, it's definitely the best of the first half of Series 7, according to our scores.
Yes, I agree with that.
What about Asylum? Did we not
second place?
Did we not all give Asylum an A or a B? Or
no, did we?
Yeah, I think we all rated Asylum quite highly.
So yeah, I think I was the only one who.
I forget what we did an hour ago. It was a long time ago, boys. I can't expect to remembering that.
I think I rated it a bit low, actually.
Sorry, right, yeah. I got mixed up with a town called Mercer. That's the one we both gave an A, but Gobby and John didn't,
I'll have to, well, you know what?
Okay, so
rewatch value.
That was what us Doctor Who fans got served up in 2012.
Yep.
Until, of course, it was Christmas Day. And then what did we get? Oh, it's Moffat back with his pen again because it's time for the Snowman. Now, Moffat previously wrote a Christmas special, but had a chariot being pulled by a shark. Was
Yes.
this was Christmas special where he jumped the shark?
Hmm.
Interesting
Indeed.
question.
Interesting
Right,
question.
Amy and Rory are gone. The Doctor is in an epic, decades-long sulk.
Yeah.
He
That's
doesn't
one
want to know. Saving the universe, he's done his bit, and he's basically hidden his TARDIS in a cloud
Yeah.
above Victorian London. Well, he
Yep.
probably must have turned up there when Victoria hadn't been on the throne very long, if he'd been there for decades. But, but hey, So,
Yeah, well,
the Great Intelligence, who we obviously as fans know for his Yeti animating antics, is evolving itself, and it's turning up as a kind of memory snow, and it's
yes.
making snowmen, and there's something frozen in a pond, and while in London, it turns out that Strax, rather than being actually dead at the end of A Good Man Went to War, somehow, or some different version of Strax, is here in Victorian London acting as a manservant for Madame Vastra and her girlfriend, stroke servant, stroke Jenny,
Thing.
who likes
Yeah.
her tongue, which
Yes,
I believe
indeed.
came up in this episode.
I think it did, yes.
So, therefore, this is the first story where the Paternoster gang is fully assembled.
Yes.
And they are trying to engage the Doctor in taking some interest in this whole business with snow.
Yes.
Meanwhile, there is Clara, who is both a salt of the earth pub landlady and
Yes. Barmaid.
at the same time an extremely posh governess. And somehow she managed to have feet in two halves of Victorian society and nobody blinks.
Of course.
And she comes across the Doctor and she wants his help, but he goes, "Oh, you're impossible, you are. Oh, I don't want to know about you."
Sorry, I just need to go away for a few minutes just to let you know.
Fair enough, mate. Yeah,
Carry on, mate. Carry on. Back on.
But then, Madame Vastra, Jenny and Strax draw in the Doctor and Clara, and they manage to basically defeat the Great Intelligence and its puppet, beautifully played by Richard E. Grant.
Absolutely.
What was the character's name?
Oh,
It'll come back to me in a moment, but
what was his? I'm thinking. Carry on.
Dr.
Simeon.
Simeon, very well done, Gobby.
Simeon. Yeah, kid. I knew it'd get there in the end. Battling around in my head.
In the process, although the Doctor has kind of started to enjoy doing this sort of thing again, he gets Clara killed. Off the cloud, bam, dead. But then he realizes that her name, Clara Oswin Oswald, is terribly similar to Oswin Oswald. So what is going on? And he rushes off into the TARDIS to try to find her and end the story.
Ba-doom.
So this is essentially the second introduction of Jenna Coleman as the regular companion. But instead of Oswin, she's now Clara.
Yeah.
And instead of in the future, she's now in the past. But once again, she dies.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got some definitely kind of dodgy stuff getting brought in here, which is really starting to hint at kind of taking snipes at men, the first kind of radically feminist kind of hints at stuff. I mean, it's not heavy duty. It's not enough to make the episode toxic. But if we're charting progress of this stuff coming into the scripts, this would be a big moment.
Yeah, this
would be a big moment.
So I'm back. I just
welcome back. I've just finished summing up. But let's do. Who wants to open up with thoughts on this one? Let's go to you, Gobby. Did you enjoy this that Christmas? Did you have your sherry out before it?
Your sherry out. Oh no, definitely never have sherry out. Port. No, it'd be just whiskey, mate. It's always whiskey. Whiskey.
Messing about with Gobby household.
Yeah, it's just whiskey all the time, mate. Whiskey, everything with whiskey. It was all right. Again, I'm not, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect reaction, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was all
yeah,
right.
it's all right. You know, you're right about you started to see the seepings of what was to come into it.
Seepings is an excellent word for it.
Seepings, slowly but steadily, a little bit of drip thread. Things like Clara in Victoria, London, being a barmaid and a governess. Really, is that right? No, because she wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Question:
Go on
Why?
then. Yeah,
Why?
exactly. Why does she have to
Why
be
would
broke?
she live that lifestyle? Why?
Exactly. I mean, let's be honest. Victorian barmaids back in it wasn't a pretty job, was it, compared to a governess? I don't understand. I don't get the reason, but I don't know. Sometimes Doctor Who does that, especially in NuWho. It does that a lot where things don't make sense. I enjoyed it. It was
Well, it's
okay.
like, educates kids by day. Wants to show off her boobs to the men at night. Is that what it is?
Well, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I won't lie. I never really.
She does display her décolletage
Oh yes. I mean, I
when
must
in
admit
barmaid form.
that did stick in the mind very, very vividly, of course. But I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Clara, I never liked her as a companion in any case. Although I did enjoy watching her as a companion, if that makes sense. Yeah, but I don't know. It was all right. It wasn't the greatest Christmas story, let's be honest. Yeah. There you go. Signed off. Okay. Kind of passed
Now,
it along.
Papalaz has got some things to say here. He quite rightly points out Clara gets killed all the time, right up until becomes immortal with her own TARDIS.
Well, of course. Yes.
Also, Clara was supposed to be Victorian. That's why she was a childminder who didn't understand Wi-Fi. Moffat fucked the story up to Gaiman's anger.
Well, there you go.
Which, I have heard that, but they're going to go with Victorian companion and then welched on it at the last minute.
I don't know.
It's possible.
It's
hard to say for certain. Most sort of stories, unless you got original scripts or something, which could show the changes. And Time Prophet mentioning that Ian McKellen played the great his voice in the big glass snow globe, which I had actually forgotten about. So that's another brilliant piece of trivia. It just shows how much goodwill there used to be for having a bit part in Doctor Who, especially at Christmas for little kiddie, of course. Yes. Well, no, Richard E. Grant he's had tragic personal circumstances in the past.
Really...
I mean, everybody.
I didn't know that. That's a shame.
Everybody who knows what's going on with him, it's heartfelt support for him as a widower.
Like Peter Cushing, is it like that kind of thing? Like, remember Peter? What happened?
Yeah, responding to Pablo, Gaiman has said it. Yes, but do I necessarily believe Gaiman? Maybe. Don't know. I have an open mind about it.
Yes, but no.
Writers lie, darling.
Yeah, writers do lie.
Especially writers who come under criticism themselves for our story that season.
Well, this is true.
Who knows? I want to be clear. I operate what I call a back burner.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily decide if something's true or not. It doesn't bother me per se if something's true or not, so much as what is the evidence supporting it. And if there isn't enough evidence for me to come out and say I believe this, this looks true to me, I stick it on the back burner and I just let time come. And you can still talk about it as a possibility. I just feel, I mean, you may well be right, but I just feel that may be a bit of Neil Gaiman as well, because I don't entirely trust him. Just a personal view of the man. Where were we? Yeah. Goldenagedgreek, tell us some more.
This episode, again, I love historical settings. I think the design and the production was done very well, and that always appeals to my senses. So that was one thing that I really liked. I would agree with you, Gobby. I wouldn't say that Clara was a companion that I necessarily think back and think, this was the best of times with Clara. I don't really think along those lines. However, I would say that out of the three main incarnations of Clara that we got, I would say that if they were going to go with one for the full season, then I would have preferred that Moffat do the governess, Clara. I'd say she had the most potential out of all of them.
Just to quickly respond again to Papalazzi, to understand it does make actual sense. I agree with you. I would rather that she had been Victorian. I think it would have been much more interesting to have a proper historical companion again, because you've got a great chance to contrast and compare modern life, unless, of course, in current times, people don't want to put a sharp relief contrasting modern life and maybe criticising it on its morals or its ethics, as a Victorian character might be wont to do. So maybe it's because there is a potential of a character that the show actually couldn't risk going there once it started to get all this woke criticism. That's also possible. Just thinking about why we might have changed direction on a characterization. And of course, we also did the same thing with Capaldi's characterization between 8 and 9. But back to you, Goldenagedgreek. Sorry, but I just wanted to finish off that little exchange there.
So this episode isn't one that I hate. I would say that I think more positively about it than negatively. Of course, we got our introduction to the new style of TARDIS I always call it the proto-Capaldi TARDIS, because it feels a little bit bland with the blue. It feels really empty and cold, which I suppose does, support the current mindset of the Doctor.
Hold on a minute. That's a brilliant point. This was a TARDIS reveal story. I thought it was miles better than the confused mess that we had before.
Is that with the first 11th Doctor TARDIS?
Yes. I mean, I liked it for the sake of it, but I just felt the new design was a much better representation of what the TARDIS should be. It was much more focused and powerful. This felt once again, it actually felt like a machine that could go somewhere with purpose, and not just a box with a blob of stuff in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the first TARDIS that he had did sort of represent the mindset that he was at that time and what Moffat wanted to do, which was the whole fairy tale aspects, and that still is in this season, but it's sort of put to the side a bit, and it feels like this season is the first proper
the TARDIS is sitting on top of a cloud. Just want to point that out.
Yeah. So the fairy tale stuff is still there. However, I don't think it dominates the entire season as much as it did with 5 and 6. So I think Moffat was sort of going back to that sci-fi, route again. Which, and again, the TARDISes do so, because the TARDIS is supposed to represent the Doctor, and I think the metallic look of this one with the blue and how it looks all cold, it does very much encapsulate the Doctor's mindset at this time. So I think that was done very well.
Time Prophet pipes up, a bicycle pump should never have been attached to a TARDIS console. I'm just considering that, because there's been mention about the coral TARDIS, or straight the organic TARDIS as well, because we've raised this. And I think when I think about the original Eccleston Tennant TARDIS, I didn't mind the sort of eclecticness of like a bicycle pump and a telephone and things, because it gave a sense that the Doctor had to rebuild the TARDIS from scraps after some calamity. It felt like the TARDIS had been through hell in the Time War, so it'd been bodged back together. And to me, that's why it wasn't a more rational, logical machine like it had been in Classic. But when it transformed into Matt Smith's TARDIS, and it was still all this kind of eclectic sort of mix of stuff just blobbed together, then it became, that wasn't the Doctor doing that to keep the TARDIS going through the centuries. That was just the TARDIS messing about, which I felt was just not so good. But when we got the TARDIS reveal of the Snowman, it was like the Doctor had a long time and had actually put the TARDIS back into some sort of proper working condition. Because he took to sort of, having an oil rag around and things and polishing things a bit and taking some pride in it, which he hadn't actually so much done before. I never saw him dust the coral TARDIS, did you? So maybe that's a rhetorical question, because nobody did, because I don't think it happened. But, so there was a change of utility. But I think that was what then later undermined the Jodie TARDIS, which brought in a custard cream dispenser. Like,
don't even
why? They got rid of that wonderful fucking set. Oh dear me, pardon me, I'm breaking YouTube terms of service and conditions.
It's as long as it's not in the first 7 seconds, we're all right.
Let's just sum it up. The new TARDIS reveal was a big plus for this story.
Yeah, it was. So we're going to go for scores, are we?
I've not said anything.
Oh, sorry, guys. Burranjor, crack on.
No, is the answer, Gobby.
Huh? No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Burranjor.
Okay, I was going to say was I disagree with some stuff that's been said. I actually think this was a really, really good story. I don't see it as being when the SJW pandering began, if I'm honest, because I will say Stephen Moffat has always had a bit of a cringy kind of, laddish sense of humour, for better and for worse. I mean, in sitcoms,
the territory of the BBC, doesn't it?
Well, his sitcoms were very like that. Like, go back and watch Coupling, you'll see there's jokes about guys always being idiots. So I don't think there was anything particularly standoutish about that in this. I absolutely love. See, to be honest, I'd say this and The Next Doctor are the best two Christmas stories because I think they use the Christmas setting well and that they don't try.
You'd put this above Christmas Carol?
Yes, I would. I think Christmas Carol, to be honest, I'm sorry. I think it's very mawkish. I think it's very obvious. And I really do. I mean, even though, ironically, I'm a huge shark fan. I mean, I'm fascinated with sharks. I can't stand. I think the flying shark alien is stupid. It's like the young ones, it's a flying shark. That's what it's like. It's awful. Whereas this story, I thought Richard E. Grant was really good. I mean, he's always good value for money. He's always a great villain. A great ham. And Ian McKellen was obviously great. And I felt it was quite an interesting idea. It was kind of like
he would be back. We've got double value out of Richard E. Grant.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I quite like the idea of it's like Forbidden Planet, where your id, kind of can detach itself and become this sort of evil creature. That was really cool. And I also really, really liked Clara in this one. I mean, I agree she did not live up to it, but Victorian Clara was excellent. And also, I liked her chemistry with Matt Smith. I mean, the only problem is that it was maybe a bit too perfect because I don't like doctor companion romances, and Matt and Jenna seem to really like each other. Who knows what was, and that kind of played it into there. But still, they were good together. And as I said in the last video, I like the Paternoster gang. I think they're something that only Doctor Who can do, which is take people from different genres and times and put them together and have it seem normal.
No one could dispute that Jenna Coleman lights up the screen.
Oh yeah, she's great.
I just as a person, her energy, her screen presence, etc. She's an extremely photogenic, attractive woman. And I mean, she immediately made an impact as a companion on the basis of her looks, and that's fine. That's not a problem, But she was a really great choice to be in the show.
She's a good actress overall.
Yeah, I think. Very capable actress. So
one last thing I'd like
to the script, but
one last thing I'd like to say though that is, I think, a failing with this episode was it's not like. Well, it's more in terms of continuity that I was happy at the time they brought back the Great Intelligence because it was a great villain that hadn't been used. But the way they do it, they throw out all of its story and all of its characterization. I mean, this isn't the Great Intelligence. It's the same basic idea of a spiritual enemy, but there's no way you can connect.
It's supposed to be Abominable Snowmen, the prequel, but it isn't because it's kind of
it fails. There's one wee teeny there's one wee teeny bit where he mentions the London Underground, but other than that, this has got nothing to do with those two stories. It contradicts them. Remember the
suggests that he's throwing in this idea that will confuse it and it will attack the London Underground in so many years' time. But that doesn't jar with the real origin of the Great Intelligence that was established in Abominable Snowmen, but it come through space a couple of 100 years before and attached itself to the abbot,
yeah, exactly. That's completely
it didn't fit
now
all,
it's
so.
it's in two places at the one time. It was created 300 years later. I mean, this is a problem with NuWho when it brings back these villains. I mean, this was definitely what it did with the Master.
It was
even
just
John
a bad
Sim.
attempt to shoehorn a bit of continuity in. You know, but
It's
obviously,
written like a remake.
Moffat thought that people might get a reference to the Underground more than they would to Bet. I suppose.
But it's terrible. NuWho is written basically like a remake. Like, this would be an okay version of The Great Intelligence if it were in a remade too. But they try and make it a sequel. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And this is
again. But The Great Intelligence is a Cthulhu being. You know, I mean, if there isn't anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about Lovecraft, Cthulhu mythos here, which cosmic horror, giant entities beyond the knowing of mankind, any knowledge of which would drive you insane. So kind of, you know, I mean, yeah, I'd say Great Intelligence is a Lovecraftian concept. Absolutely, it's a pure consciousness, body possession. You know, so yeah. It's not the only Cthulhu-esque Doctor Who monster. You certainly include the seaweed monster from Fury of the Deep. It's very Cthulhu.
Yeah, no, but I mean that's my point. That as a prequel to the two Yeti stories, and even just as a return of the Great Intelligence, it sadly falls.
It's just better for it's a throwaway line, best thrown away.
Yeah, it should have been a new monster, but other than that, I do like this story. I honestly, if you want to get my score now, just to move it along, I'd give it an A+. Yeah. To be honest.
There you go, A+.
Yes, as Papalazzi goes again, is very accurate. One of the Cthulhu deities is a pyramid of spheres. You know, which is Yog-Sothoth is both the gate and the key. Everybody. So, yeah. But we're not here to talk about Lovecraft. We're talking about Doctor Who. Although worth a mention of All-Consuming Fire from New Adventures, which was a great attempt to integrate the Cthulhu mythos with the Doctor Who lore. Let's see then. Should we do some scores for Snowmen? Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.
I'm going to hit it with a C+. It was average enough.
Yeah, I'd give it a C, a good solid C. It was nice and average. It'll do. It was nice on Christmas Day. That was
what about you guys? Any improvement on a C?
Goldenagedgreek? I would actually say an A-.
A-?
Nope.
That's a significant.
I would actually say an A-.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, we've already got Burranjor. He went for an A-, was it? Or an A+. A+. There you go.
So yeah, the panel is quite divided. Right,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's all right. This is what we like. This is what which is why I also thought this was what would happen with this season.
Overall, I don't think this season has scored as badly from us as season 6 did. I mean, even though you guys, you and Gobby, John, have probably given it a more average mark. I don't think, apart from the Chibnall ones, that you've really given it as many bad marks as you did for
we haven't given it a shoeing, definitely not. And as I stress again, the strength of the AI scores for the entire season.
Yeah.
So you know, we are critiquing a series which was in itself a significant success, and we can't take that away from it. But we've still got quite some way to go, so we better cut along here.
We need to
we need to sound the bells of St. John. We're going to struggle to get through this.
Well, yeah. We're going to run out of time, I think. We'll have to get a bit of a shift on.
Okay, well, I'll give you my score now to hurry it along.
Here we go.
I'd give this one an A+ because I thought this one was absolutely fantastic. It was really, it was another strong introduction for Clara. Some bits were a bit creepy, like him doing paintings of her. But overall, again, I thought that the concept was a really cool way of using modern technology, like Spearhead from Space, for
I'm thinking here, for the
aliens.
sake of speeding this up a little, maybe we should skip the story descriptions on these, and we will just critique the episode. So let's just share our thoughts on impressions on the episodes, and we'll save ourselves 10 minutes, perhaps. Carry on, please.
Okay, well, yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's really a really clever way of using aliens and the supernatural with modern technology, which is something I'm always interested in. And I think the ending was really creepy when you see how long the intelligence has been controlling these people, and the old woman says, "Where's my mummy?" I mean, that's one of the most disturbing moments.
Oh God, yeah.
So yeah, this is top tier NuWho for me. So I give this one an A+.
The people with the hollow heads gave my nephew genuine screaming abdab nightmares about this one.
Wow, yeah. I can see that. I can see that.
You never know how things will hit them. I think he was like 6 at the time. And yeah, this really hit him. He was really disturbed by that. Which I think, great. I mean, that was fantastic. This sort of network probe, sort of spookiness. Oh my God, there's not a person there at all, and it's a trap, and you're getting sucked into it. I could quite see how that was very scary for a child.
I completely agree.
And the whole plane crash stuff, the whole sequence of the way that we went from the ground in the TARDIS straight into the plane, that was beautifully done.
That was.
And the riding the bike up the side of the spire was also beautifully done.
Yes, it was beautifully done.
So and dramatic, and the Doctor was suitably scary to these invading aliens. They bricked themselves appropriately when they realised he was onto them. So built up the strength of his character, gave us a great look at Clara. I agree with you, Burranjor. This was a big improvement actually on the first half of the series.
Yeah.
But let's see what Goldenagedgreek has to say.
I would give it a B+, very close to an A-. The difference between those two scores is very little. I do see a lot of good things about this episode. I always love episodes that comment on the dangers of technology and how as it grows and we incorporate it into our daily lives, how that can have very negative consequences. So to see people literally be sucked into the internet, so to speak, this is a very on-the-nose metaphor.
So Dako, the bike bit was a bit silly, but it was cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought it was cool as well. Sorry, Sadako. I agree. Rule of cool applies.
Let us say an anti-gravity bicycle is certainly a contrivance.
Indeed.
But I had no objection. I really didn't. I was going, this is pretty great. So please carry on, Goldenagedgreek.
So yeah, again, as I said with the last episode, this Clara I don't think is in any way as good as the Victorian Clara. However, the introduction is okay. I mean, Moffat didn't really seem to think so, because I mean, after the 50th, he completely changes Clara's life. So I mean,
don't ask questions.
Yeah. Yes. Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
I love that guy. That guy is a genius. He really is.
God, get him to review Power of the Dalek, the Power of the Doctor. That would be fun.
Yes, indeed it would. It would.
That guy is a genius. He is a god among men. I love his videos.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, absolutely brilliant. Well, I suppose it comes to me to give you my opinion.
It does, Gobby.
I will give this one an A+. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
Excellent.
It was because as Goldenagedgreek said, it's these stories where it's modern day technology and what happens when it can get out of control. Always intrigued me. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Really thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. Even the silly bike scene, it was great.
I don't know the silly messing about in the monastery bit at the start, and that was also cool. And of course, the Scottish voiced female computer repair person.
Exactly. It was just great. I really enjoyed this one.
Serious foreshadowing going on there.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely serious foreshadowing. But no, it was really good, really enjoyable episode. And
I'm going to join you, Gobby. I'm going to unhook my stingy belt here. I'm going to give this an A-.
Nice one. Yeah, it's a good story. It was a very, very good story. I enjoyed this one.
But can that score run rings round our carton?
No, he's done it again. Yeah, he slipped it in again. There you go.
Because we were following on straight this week with I think the only script from Neil Cross for the show.
I think it was. Oh no, we did Hyde as well.
Oh, he did Hyde as well. Okay.
Yeah,
so he did.
Yes, he did. He did.
The Doctor investigates Clara's past, discovering that her mum died when she was very young. Have we missed you? I thought you gave your score. Sorry.
No. So I thought we were skipping the episode.
Yeah, I think we're just battering through them now.
Oh, I did say that, didn't I? Yeah. Blah blah blah. Clara, old God, blah, pray, blah blah blah. Everything better, blah. End. Right, move on, boys.
Sorry, just because will we be cut off like 2.5 hours?
Well, we could be cut off because then my wife will come in and tell me it's time for me to leave.
All right. Okay, so I just wasn't sure about that. Sorry,
I think we perhaps should, let's try to get at least another couple done. Get past Cold War.
Yeah.
We've still got a lot to do. Somehow we've taken our time on the start of it, on the first half.
I think it's because
there was a lot in it.
There's a lot in it. There is a lot of story, and I think it's a lot's happening in this one, and that's why it took so long to get through things, because it's just so much going on. So it is, a reflection of.
Well, maybe we'll have to do 16 part A or something.
Yeah, I could do that. That's no problem. Yeah, so
we'll find a way.
We always find a way.
I mean, it's not a problem, but we're finding enough to talk about with Doctor Who, filling up the streams.
Exactly, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want.
And I'm hanging on there as long as I can. I don't mind trying for another week or two.
Yeah, it's fine. That's absolutely fine, mate. No worries at all. But there's just so much.
We'll see how we get on. We'll try and get at least past another couple of stories.
We'll get these two done, shall we?
Let's hear Goldenagedgreek's thought on Rings of Arkharton.
Arkharton.
I've always pronounced it as Akaten.
Oh,
it's always cool to see people's different pronunciations of fictional characters.
I might even have been slightly sarcastic with my pronunciation there.
Carry on then, mate.
And what we were saying with this season potentially being the one where you saw the sort of messaging, creeping in, I don't really think that is the case at this point. And I think when we go into the Capaldi era, then yes, that's definitely the case. However, like with the last episode, there was a funny scene at the beginning of the Bells of St. John where he's on the phone to Modern Clara, and the guy in the monastery says, "Is it a spirit?" And he goes, "No, it's a woman." And he prays. He does his little simple. Yeah, I thought that was funny because back then, when the messaging wasn't really the focus, you could take the piss out of everyone and everything, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this story, again, I don't really think is something that adds to the whole messaging thing, because it's actually pretty traditional when you think about it. You have a young girl who wants to run away from her responsibilities as a leader among these people for her freedom. And usually, especially now in modern storytelling, it would be that she's in the right and she can do whatever she wants, and she doesn't have to consider everyone else. But the point of the story is she is
different than that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, on no account could we accuse this one of being woke.
No, definitely not.
Nor could we say that about Hyde either.
No.
So maybe that's why we didn't hear from Neil Cross again. But...
Yeah, maybe
because the little girl actually had to come to respect the people that were around her. And it wasn't a case of she was totally in the wrong and she had to be a slave to the power. It was very much realizing that, as a young child, you do think that you can just dream and live your dream as you like. However, you do have to accept reality, and she had to accept the responsibilities, that there was a lot of danger out there that would threaten her people.
What was that word?
Responsibility.
Responsibility? What's that?
That's worse than saying "ni" these days.
Yeah.
Ni, responsibility.
Responsibility.
Wow.
Wow.
You're right. That is fundamentally why this is a more traditional story. It is about taking responsibility. Bloody hell!
Wow. How far we've come.
It's going up a whole mark in my score just for that.
Carry on, Golden Age.
No, so I thought that was a very good thing, and it's something which, when you look back on it now and you rewatch this episode, you realize, how much fictional storytelling has fallen, because this is very much something that would happen in a society that bases itself around one single leader. The people have to respect the person in charge, but the person leading also has to consider the needs of others before themselves.
Yeah.
So what would you say then to the fact that the people's belief that if they sing this song it will pacify this old god being proven to be true? What would you say that says in the story on the nature of belief? That's an unusual message of Doctor Who, isn't it?
It is a very unusual one.
Well, it's a perfect blend of themes, because again, it does complement the traditional aspect of it, but you also have the thing that ties into the overall story with belief, and how it's told that how Clara came into being was her parents met because a leaf caused her father to walk out into the road. So I think there is a sense of creativity there. And again, when Clara holds up the leaf and the Doctor gives his monologue,
it's an appeal to chaos theory, isn't it?
Yeah.
The minuscule chances of this precise thing happening. It's so rare, it's unpredictable. Hence, it's a miracle. This leaf is a miracle. It's kind of chaos thinking, kind of way of looking at life.
It is.
And yes. I think there's actually a mirror aspect to this episode, because again, with the whole responsibility thing, it wasn't a case of that this young girl wanted to take this on board. She was very much put into this position, and then she had to come to terms with it. Very much like Clara's father, who was, a consequence of this leaf. The actions of the leaf and where it specifically landed caused him to be thrown into this situation, which he otherwise wouldn't have been in.
But I mean, that says a lot about the religious mentality. This sense of having to get past the selfishness of thinking only about yourself and not wanting the trouble and not wanting the hassle and not wanting to be bothered. And again, realizing your responsibility to do more for the greater good because you can. That's kind of a religious message, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. It is quite religious.
And especially if you thought of it in terms of somebody who had something important they had to do in a religious sense, like for the sake of being controversial, let's say imagine you were Prophet Muhammad hearing the angel Gabriel for the first time, and going through that doubt, am I going mad? Or should I be writing this down and taking it seriously? Should I really believe I am a prophet of the Lord? But that's kind of conflict is echoed in the conflict that the young lady has in the script. So there's some deep strings underneath here, aren't there? Definitely. Quite satisfying in that sense.
Yeah.
Were the sort of jet bikes in space silly? I mean, at one point, it's talking about these aliens. I mean, this is really, it's normally the Doctor is against aliens getting people to worship them.
Yes.
But in this case, he's totally switched on that, because this being is apparently so bad. But if this ritual failed and it got out again, for God's sake, don't let that happen. So whatever you have to do.
Absolutely.
And even if he kind of thinks maybe I can take this on another way, he realizes that he can't. It's almost like it's too big for him. So the only thing he could do is facilitate for the song to happen. So the Doctor has to submit to this situation against his ego. Again, that's interesting character stuff. And, just Clara in general getting her mind widened by her first experience with aliens in the future. Just good, solid Doctor Who stuff. Anyone else got anything major to say about this one?
Well, personally, I thought it was crap. I'm sorry.
Right,
Okay.
so no, go for it.
No, it wasn't crap because it's not as bad as the Chibnall ones, but I think it was a real step down from the Bells of St. John. I didn't. I felt it was very mawkish. I felt it was very an attempt to make the Doctor the pivot of the universe. I mean, I know everyone sees that big speech moment as definitive, but I'm sorry. I think that was far too overdone, and I also did not like that. And I'll admit, I'll give Claudia Boleyn, her due when she said that she couldn't stand. I mean, I like Claudia personally, but I don't always agree with her views on Doctor Who. But she's right about it was so stupid the way the TARDIS was like jealous of Clara in it. I mean, seriously, that's what it was meant to be. No, that's what it was. Stephen Moffat said that. He said the TARDIS is a Type 40 bad girl, and that's why it doesn't like Clara. It's like, Jesus Christ, that I remember everyone had these ideas that it was, like good, that maybe there was something
Is it
weird
possible
about Clara.
that when Moffat said that, he was trying to distract from the real reason for TARDIS?
No, he wasn't.
Was that
after.
before the name of the Doctor came out that he made?
It was, yes, trust me, it was after. It was because that's the point. It never went anywhere. Like, it was not because there was all these Claras. It was just something that he threw in there, and that's why it was. And that's why the TARDIS is bitchy to her in the next episode when, remember, it takes a form that she'd like, and it's her. I mean, it's so. I mean, that annoys me. Also, like, I think I felt this one maybe leaned too much into the supernatural, and I don't mind them dipping their toe into that, but in this case, it felt like it was more just because they couldn't write a sci-fi story or give it a sci-fi explanation. I mean, there's some good bits in it. It's very well done. The girl's singing is nice. The effects look good, and I do like the Doctor's. That's one of my favourite bits. The Doctor's speech to the girl about how special she is.
An evil sentient son certainly is a problem. Whichever way, however you explain how that came to be, I mean, a game like 40K, for example, has got the Catan, which live inside suns. There's star entities. We call them star vampires and that because it's grimdark. And I suppose that's kind of what this creature is a kind of star vampire. Spiders. Just a moment.
I do like.
Gobby and John, TARDIS Spiders is heading out the door for Radiation Day, number 10 and 45. Going well. Love you guys. Love you straight back.
Yeah,
10 days.
straight back.
You're doing fantastic.
Sorry,
yeah,
I didn't. Good luck, TARDIS Spider.
Keep going, mate. You're doing wonders.
I've just had a repeat of my of my scans yesterday, so I shall hear middle of the month how my progress is going. I'll get some idea how I'm doing. Absolutely, TARDIS Spider.
Yeah,
Day 10 and 45. You're doing great. You just keep going.
Doing great. Keep going, mate. Keep going. That's all.
Back to you, Burranjor.
Oh, I mean, I think I pretty much finished. All I was saying was I liked that speech because I think it's good to have the Doctor like treat everyone like they matter. If you know what I mean. Like, it's not as though this woman you have to survive because you're the chosen one. It's like just because there'll never be another you. Every person's unique. Yeah. So I thought that was quite a sweet, nice moment. But other than that, I'd say this is a very middling episode for me in Series 7.
Right, let's do scores, boys.
Yeah, because time's ticking, guys.
Where are we? B.
I'll give it a B. I'll agree with that. It's quite a good one.
I'll give it a B as well.
C plus.
C plus. Okay. Can we fit in a Cold War? Do you want to squeeze a Cold War in or save it?
Yeah, we'll save it.
We are actually up against the limit here, and that's quite right too. And everyone's got lunches to have, dinners to have, and everything else. Right, I'm going to say, join us next week for the exciting second half of Series 7.
Are we going to do, I think for next week, can we do the second half of it and the anniversary ones in the same video?
Well, we'll see what we can squeeze. We've got it's up to us really, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories to do before we get to Day of the Doctor.
Yeah,
and
so
there's the mini episodes and the Night of the Doctor. as
Yeah.
well.
Okay, you're right.
there's
I'll
a
let
lot.
Wingy know that we're postponing it. I mean, do you guys? Do you
I
want
think
Wingy on?
we're going to finish, even if we only do like an hour and a half next week, we'll finish series 7.
7, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then we'll stick with a plan to have the Doctors before the 4 episodes as one
With
live
Wingy
thing,
on
'cause
that
makes a lot
one.
of sense. Yeah, see if Wingy
Yeah.
wants to do that one, but
Yeah,
it's now
Wingy
going to
will.
be the week after because
Yeah.
because of how time's gone this week. So we'll hope to see everybody else here again next week. We'll continue slogging away as we document every single reason we can find why we love Doctor Who.
Absolutely. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you all same time next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.